Mm-hmm. 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 Hi, everybody. How we doing? Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday, December 14th. And people are protesting AI on ArtStation. It's been interesting to see people joining hands so wonderfully. Also interesting to see ArtStation's silence about the issue over time. Their marketplace has had a lot of AI products sitting on it for a long time. That's the thing that troubles me the most. ArtStation's a private platform. You know, they can do whatever they want. They should expect reactions and backlash to the decisions that they make. But, you know, they are their own thing. Well, I mean, they're controlled by Epic, so Epic will tell them what to do in the long run. But they are a private platform. They're going to have to do whatever they want. I think it's silly to mix AI art and handmade art. I mean, AI people, if you want a platform, go make your own. Or ArtStation, spin something off if you're unwilling to take a stance on the AI stuff. I hope that this sends a message to ArtStation. I was a little bit worried that they were going to go the route of DeviantArt and try to make their own Stable Diffusion spin-off. Hopefully this will send them the message early that DeviantArt did not get or pretended they weren't getting, and they will they will not try to put out some sort of Stable Diffusion spin-off with ArtStation branding on it. Very, very happy to see this. I hope ArtStation realizes that most of the people on their platform do not want to get tied up with this stuff, and that they see huge problems with these systems. Anyway, let me give some thanks to a couple of people. Allow me to check a couple resources here. Sorry, let me go back in my resources here. Up. Dang it, I had a note here. These notes are getting so convoluted. I had a note here for who the image came from and who organized the initial protests. Nicholas Cole, I believe, deserves a thanks here. Thank you so much, Nicholas Cole. The image is from someone else as I understand it, so I want to thank someone for the image. I forget the name. Their handle is like Emojem or something like that. I don't want to mess it up. I'm sorry that my notes are not on point here right now. Yeah, Emotion Chase and Nicholas Cole. I want to thank for that. Good stuff happening. Good stuff. You know, I hope that this hardens artists out there to see how quickly and vehemently people come out against these things, and to show you if you're worried about these things and if you're against them, you're not alone. You're really, really not alone. And that most people do find this whole thing silly down to its core. ArtStation is waiting to see which way the wind blows. Yeah, well, yeah, no. Ain't that what it's like? Let me pull out a new tab here. Yeah, if you go to ArtStation, you go to trending or latest, you'll see a lot. It's all protested up. It's no AI as far as the eye can see. Along with a couple AI images thrown in there of AI people trying to push back. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, if you go to ArtStation latest or trending, you'll see what's up. Where'd my chat go? Was this protest planned? I never heard anything about it today. I am not sure. I have not spoken to Nicholas Cole or gotten a confirmation on that or anything like that. It might have been, you know, the thing with art and with anybody who's trying to protest these things. In my experience, it's a little bit siloed. You know, people are putting together little groups that are pushing against it, and then they don't know that there's other groups out there just because, you know, you tend not to announce that because it brings heat down on you and things like that. So it might have been, but I did not catch wind of it. Did you see the contest Stable Diffusion is making? A movie full of AI. It's crazy. Yeah, I saw that. I was a little disappointed as well to see that some of these spawning people from Have I Been Trained are helping to judge the contest. Have I been trained spawning? If I were you, I would stay as far away from Stability AI as humanly possible. That's all I would say. That is all I would say. Why are there so many people pushing for AI? I don't understand. I mean, well, it's not a fake technology. It's real. It really does what it claims that it does, and it does make images of a certain quality. It's not a false technology. And whenever there's something like that out there, people are going to be interested in it. You know, they're going to hop on. It's not all that surprising, I don't think. Do you think this protest will make a difference, Stephen? This protest is not going to make a difference on the base systemic level. Like, there's no reason for Stability AI, for example, to care about this particular protest. You know, they'll just do what they always do. They'll make some snarky posts saying, unbelievable that artists are pushing back against advancement. So far, advancement, you know, that they own and they feel entitled to and they want to make all the money off of, they're going to be like, oh, such a shame that they're doing that. You know, they'll be left behind. They'll just do that. There's no reason for Stability to pay attention to this particular protest beyond that. But it will hopefully make a difference to ArtStation and to Epic Games. I was worried just based on the silence that ArtStation was going to try to do what DeviantArt did and spin off their own Stable Diffusion based tool to use on ArtStation's website, the way that DeviantArt did with DreamUp. I'm hopeful that this will make a real, if they were planning that, I think this would probably prevent that, at least without spinning it off as its own website or anything like that. Have you seen new China regulations against AI, says Oncol. Yes, I have. I saw the news about that. I talked about that in the Proco chat with Stan Prokopenko and Carlo Ortiz. When Stan relayed to us some of Evan Conrad's points, I can't quite remember if this was a point Stan was bringing up on his own or if Evan brought it up explicitly in his interview, but he was talking about the bad argument that there's like a global competition going on and that we should allow these unethical things because if we don't, China surely will, which is unbelievably stupid. But I said in that interview, I said, you're not foreign affairs people. You guys have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And you don't know anything about China. None of us do. You have no idea what the Chinese Communist Party thinks about these things. And I was right. I brought up that they made human cloning illegal in China, even though it's a technology that is similarly impactful and fraught with ethical issues. And here we go. China has started regulating it. So The global competition argument is, again, it's all of the arguments are, it's clear who is incentivized to make those arguments on their face, and all of these arguments are coming from people who are not experts in those fields. They're just taking the viewpoint that will allow them to control the narrative and to push people to let them do whatever the hell they want. And that's the thing. Everything that they say, all of their points are all about, let us do whatever the hell we want with everything you make, no matter what. That's their argument. That's what they're doing over and over and over again. It's absurd. There's no reason to let them do whatever they want with everybody's data forever. They want the money. Yeah, well, you know, Ahmad Mustaki was a hedge fund manager. Ahmad Mustaki was a hedge fund. That's the CEO of Stability AI. Was a hedge fund manager for, what was it, 19 years. And then he looked at an opportunity like Stable Diffusion and said, you know what? That seems like a better opportunity than managing a hedge fund. You think it's not about the money? It's probably about the money. Yeah. I think it's probably about the money. The money might have something to do with it. Yeah. Fear, they're using fear to let them do whatever they want. I mean, it's not just fear. They're using blasé attitudes to let them do whatever they want. Steven, there are ways to protect works against AI. If you don't mind, I can share a link to the article. Just email it to me. From the people that I've talked to, the machine learning people, there's a lot of bad info out there about how you can protect your work against AI. A lot of the things that people say will work are misinformation. They don't actually do anything. So please email me the link. I'll check it out. I'll run it past a few people. If it seems like it could really work, and if it really works, I'll tell everybody, you know. Make the stream available on YouTube upload and hope we can share it, Steve. Yeah, I'll leave this one up. I didn't leave the one up on Monday because I watched some people's videos on that stream. And I just, you know, I don't know enough about doing reactions and stuff like that. That's not what I usually do. So I didn't want to risk it getting a strike on the channel or something like that. So this one I'll leave up though. I don't have any plans of watching anybody's videos. You know, there's not that much in this space that requires me to watch someone's YouTube video. So this one should be able to stay up. Make a short YouTube video on it if we can protect our art from AI. Yeah, as soon as I see a real robust way to prevent your art from getting scraped or something like that. A lot of the talk that's going on around there about like data poisoning, or there's certain noise patterns that you can put in your images that will prevent it from being scraped, or watermarks and things like that. From my understanding, not from me, from people smarter than me and from people who actually are computer learning people, machine learning people, those things don't actually work. They're a lot of wishful thinking. So, but as soon as I find out about a robust method, you'd better believe I would do it, and I would tell all of you guys about it for sure. I think it's especially unfair to post AI art on sites that are meant for artists to showcase and portfolio their work for professional companies / job searching. Like, what's the point? Indeed. What is the point? Why? Why would you do that? And why would you allow that? That doesn't make sense. Couldn't you put not safe for work tags in all your art to protect it? You could try to mistag your work, but that's not actually what's going to do the data poisoning. Like, for example, the Lyon 5B dataset, if you look at the breakdown of how it's of a lot of the scraping, like a vast majority of the scraping comes from like 5 websites, and those websites are mostly resharing websites like Pinterest. So when your work gets taken by somebody, put on Pinterest, they will tag it with what it correctly is. You know, if you guys have ever read a Pinterest tag, a lot of the times it's like a, you know, it's your art and then some random caption that's like, this is what I imagine the demon in my story looking like. It's like ferocious and so it's like people doing world building not in a private space, and they're just using your art as like a benchmark. So people will wind up adding the descriptive text afterwards, so it can still wind up being accurate when it gets scraped. So putting your own tags and things like that is not necessarily going to protect your art. Why we try poison AI with ungodly bad meme art? We should do that. Well, the problem is that the AIs, the scrapes will come from sites that produce the most high quality art and the most volume. So for that to work, so for example, like unstable diffusion, let me pull up another tab here. So like if we go to the Art Center, not Art Center, I've said that word so many times in my life. If we go to the Unstable Diffusion Kickstarter, we can read here, with $25,000 in funding, we can afford to train the new model on 75 million high quality images consisting of about 25 million anime and cosplay images. All right. I hope the real people who are doing cosplay are tuning into this and knowing that the Unstable Diffusion people want to train porn on your cosplay images. All right, about 25 million artistic images from ArtStation, DeviantArt, Behance, and 25 million photographic pictures. We have already begun collecting images and are up to about 20 million images in our data set in a week. This is the other part of this. So these people who want to scrape indiscriminately are going to go to the places that have the most high quality art in the highest volume. So if the only way for the meme data poisoning to work would be if a place like ArtStation would allow the meme data poisoning, and they're not going to do that because ArtStation wants to come off as serious and stuff like that. You know, ArtStation has already showed that they're unwilling to let people like Mr. Concept Art, which was a satirical ArtStation member who made fun of traditional concept art. They thought even that was too jokey and not serious enough to be allowed on ArtStation. So they're not going to allow that. So as long as the platforms that are going to do the majority of the scraping or allow the majority of the scraping are not going to allow the data poisoning, it's not going to work. That's another thing too that I hope this protest brings to ArtStation's attention and makes them take seriously. Like, ArtStation, look at what they're saying about you. Look at things like Unstable Diffusion saying, we are going to take 25 million artistic images from ArtStation, DeviantArt, Behance, and you're just not saying anything. You're not going to at least make a statement that says Unstable Diffusion, don't fucking do that. You're just going to sit there on your hands and you're just going to do this thing where you're like, well, let's see how it all shakes out. Let's see how it works out best for ArtStation, baby. Like, very sad. Very, very sad. Bruh, ArtStation does not allow memes, but accept AI as a meme by itself. Yeah. You know, companies like ArtStation, it's all damage control. Constantly. Was Cilios X says Mr. Concept Art was actually Dave Raposa. I've never heard that confirmed. Was Mr. Concept Art actually Dave Raposa? I would love that. God bless Dave, if that's true. I've never heard an actual... That's the only time I've ever heard anyone claim anybody as Mr. Concept Art. I'd never heard any kind of statement about who Mr. Concept Art actually was. Whoops. Sorry. Winnie, quiet. Quiet, come here. Come here. Come here. Sorry, I'm still dog sitting. And that dog is, the dog I'm dog sitting is not as quiet as my dog. When people understand we don't use AI to exploit but help, I hope they got laws about it and stop stealing. When people understand we don't use AI to exploit but help, I hope they got laws about it and stop stealing. Yeah, well, I agree. There should be laws to prevent the unethical data acquisition that these tools are built off of. I hope that we can all see through the smoke screen of the scale of the theft. You know, if it was an AI company doing this to one person, no one would stand for it, because we have this cognitive bias where we can only connect with the plight of one person. And as soon as there's the plight of thousands, millions, or billions of people, we all shrug and we're like, cannot compute, must not mean anything. And I think that the AI companies are benefiting from that scale issue in this problem. I hope that we can all see through that very soon, and that we can pass sane laws, legislation, whatever it takes to protect the huge amount of people who stand to be infringed upon by this. Oh, man. Also, Kickstarter. Worry about Kickstarter. You know, this AI stuff is going to have a lot of knock-on effects for Kickstarter, yeah? I mean, it used to be that having good art for your Kickstarter really demonstrated that you were taking it seriously. You know, that you were really investing in it and you were really planning on delivering your product. Now, none of that means anything on Kickstarter. You know, with the AIs, like any random Kickstarter will have finished-looking artwork, mock-ups of books and products and things like that. It's just like, no one's going to trust anything on Kickstarter, and there'll just be no reason to believe, based on the quality of the pitch, that anyone is planning on actually delivering on their product. Going to have very worrisome effects for something like Kickstarter. The prompt is the concept. The AI gives you the art. AI art is concept art. Dan Diggity, I'd just... All you AI people, you only come in here for these. I know you don't care. I know you don't care. You never talk before. All you AI people who come in here, you're never in the other streams. You're never hanging out in other people's art stuff. Like you guys just show up to start trouble. You just show up to start trouble. I don't even know what you're arguing. It is concept art. Our concept art is just a label. It's just a subjective label. That's not what it's about. The whole thing is rotten down to its core because the data acquisition is wrong, and it sets an awful precedent that will allow companies to easily, barely with loopholes, do whatever they want with everybody in the world's data for the rest of time and screw everybody over and undermine the basis of human good faith, copyright protections, everything. I don't give a fuck what counts as concept art and what doesn't. An art director could see a bottle cap with shit on it on the street and they could say it's concept art. It doesn't. That's just a subjective label. That means nothing. I come to every stream, bro. I'm just stirring the pot. Don't stir. If you're really here in every stream and you love handmade art, you stirring the pot like that is going to give people very bad faith impressions of you. And it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So happy to catch a stream. Happy to have you here, Pravam. What if we make a lot of Disney-based images? They will be pushed to take legal action. Someone did that recently. Let me see if I can pull up the tweet. Let me go back in my resources here. Investigating. Yeah, here we go. This is good stuff. Good stuff. So Eric Bordages said this: someone steal these amazing designs to sell them on mugs and t-shirts. I really don't care. This is AI art that's been generated. Legally, there should be no recourse from Disney, as according to the AI model's terms of service, these images transcend copyright and the images are public domain. Eric, you're awesome. And there was a follow-up here. Let me go back up. Eric said, update, I was refunded and lost access to Midjourney. Midjourney was like, no. Don't reveal that everything that we're doing is a lie and that our terms of service are turning our users into scapegoats. No, please don't reveal that. They are no longer profiting off of these images, and I assume didn't want copyrighted characters generated. I hope this thread created discussion around AI and where data is sourced. Here's some takeaways and opinions. Good job, Eric. Good job. It's obscene, completely obscene, that those companies know their product can output things like that, but they still have the gall to pretend they're passing on commercial licenses to their users. They're screwing their users. Extremely bad faith. We stand the courage of Eric. Eric did a good job there. There's lots of people out there putting up the good fight. I encourage everybody to put up the good fight. Do not go silently into that dark night. Steven from Colombia, I can tell that you're like Gandalf trying to not let in the Bolgaroth. Like on Lord of the Rings, thanks for that. But in the end, this is like a game. This is like a game for that companies. Yeah, I mean, I understand that we can feel very small in this situation, that it might feel like we need a Disney to fix this or something like that. But I'm going to tell you guys honestly, I don't think that's actually the case. From what I've learned, the case can be argued on its own merits, and it doesn't matter how big or small you are, and it will be argued on its own merits. Something like a class action lawsuit, for example, doesn't need to be brought by a huge corporation or by huge people. It will be brought by a law firm that specializes in things like class actions. It will only need the representation or the starting push of a few people, but it will represent everybody who is possibly being damaged by the data sets and the nature of the data acquisition. And then the argument will be made on its own merits. It doesn't matter how big the company is. And whatever the outcome of that case is, it will absolutely have an impact. It will absolutely have an impact. Now, that doesn't mean it's not scary, because life is chaos. Once you get into court, we've all seen court cases go the way that we definitely did not expect. But I'm just saying, if it were to go our way in court, it doesn't matter that only 3 people brought it or something like that. Some percentage less companies that otherwise would have been tricked into thinking by these people who leapfrogged the system and came out quickly, seeing their bad actions without repercussions, would have started AI companies to be like, well, it worked for them. When they see that things did not go their way in court, they will not start that company. It will have an effect. It will absolutely have an effect. There is a thing called Kickstarter for a reason. We could band together and hire a good lawyer. Keep your eyes on the Concept Art Association. I know that they are, and they've talked about that they're planning on getting some GoFundMes together to acquire some legislative funds to help legislate. But I just want to remind people that on the litigative side, for lawyers for something like class action or something like that, a lot of that actually does not require that many funds. A lot of those lawyers are going to do those cases on contingency. As long as the case is good, they're not going to ask the people who are bringing the suit for any money. They're just going to, if they win, they will take some percentage of the settlement. That's it. Yua, if an AI generates an amazing masterpiece, it's fine by me. The goal final piece justifies the means. No, it doesn't. If it justifies the means, it justifies them for you. And that means nothing. That just doesn't mean anything. It's nice that you don't, it's nice for you that you don't care that the whole system is built in a completely unethical way. And so I guess you have no intentions of protecting your AI masterpiece or trying to claim any ownership over it or anything like that. Like, you're going to erode copyright down to its core and the idea of authorship. So I don't know, your position just seems internally contradictory, doesn't make any sense, and only sounds like you're going to shoot yourself in your own foot. The ends do not justify the means. It should, if it's going to be done, it must be done well, and it's easy to do it the ethical way. It doesn't make any sense to do it this unethical way. The artists are revolting. Well, you know. I mean, this just goes against everything that artists really believe in, you know? I mean, artists are against, they're against efficiency. I mean, the idea of sitting down and crafting a drawing over hours and hours and hours is sort of a fight against efficiency all its own. The idea of being a craftsperson, someone who is going to make something with love and care and custom and unique and make it just beautiful, is like completely opposed to the idea of automation at its core. They're completely antithetical. It just doesn't make any sense. Imagine 3 to 4 artists win a lawsuit and sue them to bankruptcy. From my understanding, by the way that courts assess damages and things like this, almost any interpretation of the damages, when multiplied across a data set of billions of images, they're fucked. It's like the damages they could owe, it would never be this, but if they were to lose in court, even if the damages owed were, you know, a penny per image, they'd be completely screwed. They'd be completely screwed. Actually, somebody do the math. A penny per image. Maybe they could pay that, but it wouldn't be that. You know what I mean? AI is a tool, just like the camera was invented. People back then feared painting would be obsolete. Instead, artists adapted, and modernist artists created abstract and experimental art. This is deeply unlike the camera or any other technology, which, you know, if you weren't in the middle of this argument here in an artistic space, you would, of course, be somewhere else applauding the fact that this is so new, unique, and there's absolutely no precedent for this. So I don't necessarily trust your argument, but just a reminder for everybody, this is not like a camera at all. There is no technological analogy to this tool. Everything that you make, if we allow this to run roughshod over copyright, if we allow this precedent to be set, everything that you make forever, no matter how new it is, no matter how weird, so long as it's an image, something viewed in a two-dimensional space, anything like that, and they'll move it into 3D and everything like that, every new thing you make, they will always be able to reabsorb and integrate into the models. That is completely unlike every other technology. And it is not a tool. It is obviously based on replacing you. Just look at their business model. Everything that they would want from their tool is based on the axiomatic assumption that it would be better if there was no skill needed and if they could even the playing field between someone who has never made an image in their life before and someone who has dedicated their entire life to making an image. There is no need for them to allow, it's undesirable for them to allow it to feel like a tool. Their business will be better, their product will be better if it is a perfect replacement and it completely undermines experience and practice. They will always push towards that. You're being manipulated if you think that it's a tool. It is clearly a replacement. It is clearly a replacement. As I said in my video, if you were an auto worker on an auto line, you would have been wrong to call every rivet gun, screwdriver, drill that they put in your hand a replacement. Those were indeed tools. But the day that they rolled up the factory grate and they wheeled a KUKA arm onto the automotive floor, you would have been right to call that a replacement. That one was indeed not a tool. They want minimum input from artists. How is it a tool? Yeah, indeed. Thanks for talking about mindfulness and creativity. Huge help. Happy to help, you know? It's always, you know, since art is a human endeavor, it's important to deal with the human brain in there and address the emotions, the internality. All of that stuff is important. We did not start painting and drawing to be used by a bunch of greedy tech nerds. Indeed, we did not. And everybody who's floating the idea that you were tacitly agreeing to this whenever you put your images on the internet, nonsense. Nonsense. Neither the spirit of the law nor the letter of the law would ever indicate that. To say that, that's a totally bad faith argument. It's like the people who say that our contracts will allow us to be screwed like this forever. It's like, no, it's not. Nobody who was writing these contracts was predicting this world-changing technology emerging upon us so soon. I find it hard to believe that any lawyer or judge would uphold that because it's just completely bad faith. That was not within the zeitgeist of the world when the contracts were written. All of that stuff needs to be updated. People will lose creativity due to AI. Creativity needs to be exercised. Most certainly. Most certainly. Just go to bed, dog. No, there's no need for you to bark. No one's ever come in here. Nothing has ever hurt you. Just rest. Wafela says, what are you smoking if you think typing words and stealing styles is being an artist? Yeah, well, you know, they are their own. The AI users, we have to admit, they are their own culture, right? You know, I mean, new cultures emerge, new things emerge, new niches emerge. They happen to have emerged in a completely unethical way that is surely going to draw consequences and repercussions, and they are going to bear that. They're going to bear the brunt of that. As I've said, if an AI model could be made ethically, I personally don't see any reason that that shouldn't be, you know, a model that is made on public domain images, Creative Commons images, and opt-in images. Opt-in, 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 not opt-out. So if we were to get there, the culture that emerges around that is whatever it's going to be. The people in that culture need to decide that culture. But for real, it's like nobody agrees with them. I mean, it's on them to, you know, try to prove that or something like that. But the whole nature of their endeavor undermines that. Like, no, the fact that they're, yeah, I mean, it's laughably obvious to everybody that it's so completely built on the tool that nobody's going to take seriously that they are really deeply involved in what they're making. Richard Coral says it's just a tool. No, it ain't, baby. No, it ain't. It's based on being a replacement for you. Just read their own releases about the models that they're making. They don't even use the word artist. Most of the releases don't even use the word artist. They'll write thousands of words about the release. They'll never use the word artist. They just want it to be any random person can make the same image as everybody else. It's meant to be a replacement, and that would be the better thing for their business model, so of course they're going to do it. Deba, TM, with the 100, I don't know that symbol, but thank you. Steven, I shared your massive essay with people who blindly praise AI art, and they all had a change of heart after seeing your video. Thank you. Is that true? Did they really have a change of heart? That's extremely heartwarming. I mean, that's amazing. If it really produced a change of heart for them, I don't know what to say. That's wonderful. I'm very, very, very glad to hear that. That's given me the warm fuzzies deep down inside. A kind of warm fuzzy that a machine can never feel. The kinds of warm fuzzies that make life worth living, and that make me glad to be a conscious, sentient being. There is something it is like to be Steven Zapata. There is nothing it is like to be Stable Diffusion. The hands on a generator are so whack. We got to move past the hand thing. It's muddying the waters. I mean, the hand thing will get fixed. I think that's just a scale issue in the input images. I wish I had a good answer on that, but no one seems to know exactly why it can't do hands. Because it can get faces right. If it can get faces right, it should be able to do hands. That's the thing, at least from my understanding. Like, if it was going to make the same mistake with hands that it does with faces, it should be producing more faces with 6 eyes or 4 noses, things like that. I think it's a scale issue on the input images. I think hands just generally tend to be smaller, and then because it gets trained on lower resolution images, as I understand it, the low res quality of it makes it difficult for the machine to learn how many cylinders are in that space, generally just because it gets squished. Androids can be individuals. Too bad there's no androids. A little off topic, but if you haven't seen it yet, the Spider-Verse 2 trailer dropped yesterday. Yeah, I saw it. Looks good. I really liked the first Spider-Verse. I mean, Steven Zapata art, it can't even do dynamic poses properly. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Me personally, I don't really care what it can or can't do well yet. I don't see any reason to believe that it won't become able to do those things well. You get what I'm saying? 600 views, Steven, we should celebrate. Well, I'm not going to celebrate. I know that most of those views are people who are hate watching, so it doesn't gladden me to know how many people will only show up here to get informed on what the resistance thinks and to hear my arguments and are watching in bad faith, and just they're not here for anything else. They just only show up to be angry about the AI stuff. That doesn't gladden me, so I'm not gonna celebrate. Cathematical with the 25 AED, thank you so much. I hate the argument that AI art is that it isn't stealing anything when you can directly prompt it to create works in the style of a specific artist. Yeah, I mean, the technology is so nuanced and so difficult to understand. In fact, that there is a perfect gap to total understanding, because even machine learning people admit that no one quite understands how the latent space comes to the conclusions that it does, or comes to conclusions. That makes it sound like it's sentient. No one quite understands how the latent space is shaped the way it is shaped upon training, right? These machine learning algorithms at a certain point are a black box even to the professionals who make them. So it's going to produce a lot of confusing situations where you can do a lot of mental acrobatics and try to make a rhetorical argument that it doesn't steal, right? And that's going to continue, unfortunately. But there's other things that I think are undeniable, right? That don't really revolve on don't really hinge on rhetorical argumentation. Things like the fact that if you are prompting in the style of a specific artist and the output is work in that artist's style, you are doing real market damage to that artist's salability and what they can charge for their works, because you are implicitly putting out there in the world that there is a way to get work that looks like theirs for cheap or for free forever. And that is one of the bases of copyright protections. And also, I want to remind everyone, fair use protections. Fair use is pretty clear that that's one of the things that would make something fall outside of fair use, that it causes direct market damage to the salability of the product. So all of the AI people who like to pretend that they're fair use experts and they're lawyers and they know it falls under fair use and we should all stop talking about this, they've never read fair use. I mean, the problem with market damages to the actual market of the thing that is being used is all over fair use clauses, not just in the United States, but in the UK as well, where those laws are called fair dealing laws instead of fair use laws. Go read them. If you actually read them, I think you'll be quite surprised. I think you'll be quite surprised. The moment I actively started to hate this AI is when I saw some guy who trained it to create art based on Kim Jong-gi's art and asked for credit. Yeah, that was absurd. Also completely just not right. I mean, Kim Jong-gi's work is an asset. His estate would have passed to his wife and children. It's their right to license his work and to make money off of his work, to compensate them for the fact that they lost him as a family. It's completely wrong to make a tool that is supposed to undermine the licensability of his work in perpetuity. Deeply, deeply wrong. Never thought the Steven Zapata art would have hate watchers. My detractors are out there. My detractors are out there. And if you listen long enough, you'll be sure to hear their carping stridulations, not just in this stream, but in comment sections everywhere. My detractors are certainly out there, and their calumnies against me are vociferous and numerous. Visual art is different than writing. Indeed, but the data acquisition methods are shared across a lot of these systems. The data acquisition is the real problem, and the nature of the data acquisition and the axiomatic assumptions about the data acquisition are shared between music, writing, art. The idea is that these companies feel that so long as they can see it, they are allowed to train off of it and completely destroy the markets that music, that art, and that writing was aiming for. So even if there's mental acrobatics that can be done about, the ridiculous things that people say, like, oh, well, music is different than art because there's only so many combinations of notes. It's like, it's not just the notes. There's everything over music. People like to really base their argument on the fact that there's only so many combinations of notes and harmonies. And it's like, oh, so the music doesn't have lyrics laid over it and things like that. It's like, there's so many other things that could be happening. Whatever the differences between the end products are, the axiomatic legal and ethical assumptions on the data acquisition end are all the same axiomatic assumptions. Geigen Greg says, my ire is not necessarily with the tech, though its advancement is pretty spooky, but with people who seem genuinely eager for AI to replace human artists. Thank you, Geigen Greg, for the $5. I really appreciate it. Geigen Greg, thank you. Just because I was talking about music, I had to sing it. But interestingly enough, I think my problem is more with the tech, more with the data acquisition and the nature of the technology. I really don't get bent out of shape about the end users very much. People can say whatever stupid crap they want on the internet, and people do say whatever stupid crap they want on the internet. I'm not surprised by that. And I personally am not super bothered by that. I think it's foolish. I think they're silly. But I personally I'm basically only bothered by the data acquisition stuff. It's really the early on stuff, the axiomatic legal and ethical assumptions. That's what bothers me. Kind of dislike art pros and stable diffusion who go, real creative artists will adapt. Monotone artists who draw one theme will lose their jobs. Like, man, maybe some love that. Yeah, I don't. I'm personally a little embarrassed by my peers who take that tack. Real creative artists adapt. It's just like, it's you. You are the kind of artist, I hate to say it, bud, but you are just the kind of artist who has decided that they like just kind of going with the flow of every new technological advancement and just always needing to adapt and change. And you're okay with that because deep down it's fun for you. But art practices are broad. They're meant to be every kind of thing. Not everyone has to be you. And most of the artists that you love are actually probably people who didn't do much adapting. Most people's top 10 artists are people who stubbornly stuck with one thing no matter what and became masters of it. And that's the art that really tends to move people a lot, instead of people who are just constantly changing their whole vibe and things like that. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a very commercial mindset. And again, it works for those artists, but it's silly to insists that that's the right way to do it and that only artists who are doing it that way, your way, are, you know, right or smart or cool or doing the right thing or really have the right artist mindset. It's, nah, man, no. 666 current viewers. What if someone took a bunch of the art created by AI artists and fed that into the AI, like give them a taste of their own medicine, for example? As I understand it, most of the major AI tools do have watermarks in the images, very subtle watermarks that can't be detected. It's like metadata or something like that. I'm actually not sure what the nature of this watermark is. I haven't looked into it much, but they specifically watermark all of the generations so that it won't be used in the training to prevent a negative feedback loop. So I actually don't think that will work. Geigen Greg with another $5. Thank you so much. Real artists will adapt never made much sense to me in the context of AI art, because AI art is going to adapt back at some point. It won't matter. Yeah, that's the other problem. It's like the nature of this technology is such that no matter how you adapt, everything that you produce will then be reabsorbed back into the model, and you'll have to adapt in an endless cycle that will eventually drive you crazy and destroy your soul. Even with a fair use AI model, wouldn't after a few years just imply the end of human-made art, as the art demand will be supplied by the AI, not artists anymore? Well, that's a real problem, right? And that might be a labor regulation problem at a certain point. But the other thing is that if it goes by the current laws where you need, 70 to 100 years for something to enter the public domain, that will always prevent the newest, most interesting, trendiest styles from being copied, and give more people to develop those styles and to monetize them. That's not a perfect solution, because I, for example, am not the kind of artist who's into doing trendy styles or doing new styles. I work in a pretty old-fashioned way that's more influenced by old art, but it would at least do that. But it is a problem. It is a problem, and I do think at that point it would require some labor regulations, the same way that, at least in the United States, you can hire international people on visas, but you need to maintain a ratio of American workers and international workers. It might come down to something like that. Machines can't suffer for not having jobs, but human beings can. So you might need some regulations to make it so that you have to hire some human beings to make your goddamn thing that you're going to make all your money off of. Didn't they always say AI was only meant to do jobs humans didn't enjoy doing? Pretty sure we enjoy art. Yeah, that's what makes it so egregious and silly. But of course they were going to say that until there was money to be made off of regulating something that people like doing. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. What are we seeing in the background I wasn't on earlier? There is a protest against AI going on ArtStation. If you go to ArtStation and you hit latest or trending, you're going to see a lot of symbols like these of people letting ArtStation know that they don't want to be thrown in with the AI, and that they think that ArtStation should take a stand against AI. And ArtStation, God help you if you were trying to do what DeviantArt was doing and you were launching a model like DreamUp where you just repackage Stable Diffusion with your own branding and then claim that it's safe to use it on your site because you're going to prevent things to be trawled from Stable Diffusion while you're still using the unethically gotten, ill-gotten data that's already within base Stable Diffusion, and just hoping people don't understand how the tool works enough to know that as long as you're using Stable Diffusion, it will always be based on the ill-gotten data. But there'll always be people like me to remind people of that. And again, it's just so funny that these companies' only option is to use Stable Diffusion to build it off of, because again, let's remind everybody who keeps saying the genie's out of the bottle, there's no putting this back. It was the mistake of one company, Stability AI, and the one open source product that was put out there, Stable Diffusion, that is allowing all of this madness. For the most part, the damages are currently on them. As much as I don't like Imagen, as much as I don't like DALL-E 2, they have not open sourced it, and they are still susceptible to regulation, legislation, and litigation, and we can push them back and fix the way that those companies operate, and their source code would not be out there to cause damages in perpetuity, but Stable Diffusion's is. You fucked up, Stability AI. And yes, it's you in particular. There is no genie out of the bottle. There is a sad brass bottle with Stability AI written on it. And something needs to be done about that bottle. Maybe it should be put in the Cave of Wonders, in the heap of other useless treasures. Deba with another 100 something that I don't know. Thank you so much, Deba. Deba TM, Deba trademarked his name. 1, how are you so calm about the entire situation? 2, how do you have such nice vocab? 3, what is the immediate solution to the AI art situation? I will go in reverse order. What is the immediate solution? There is no immediate solution, but things are going to happen. There's going to be a very big reaction to all of this. I expect to see a lot of litigation in the very near future. That's definitely going to happen, so keep an eye out for that. Very soon, fundraisers, organizations, people who are going to lobby for protections on these things, they're all going to come out. So just pay attention to the news about this stuff, get educated on these things, keep an eye on the Concept Art Association, keep an eye on Equity UK. You will be able to throw in with them and help. Question number 2, how do you have such nice vocab? You know, I get that question quite often. I literally just, when I don't know a word, I just look it up. That's it. I collect words like Pokemon. That's it. My vocab is not that expansive compared to actual educated people, actual smart people. 1, how are you so calm about the entire situation? I wouldn't say I'm calm. You know, I feel at peace with it because I'm keeping educated and I'm involved and I see what's happening, and my education has only made it more clear to me that something can be done about this and that most people think that this is an egregious overstepping and absolutely ridiculous. That has served to make me feel more peaceful, and that my anger is not misplaced but is instead righteous and totally logical. So that may make me seem calm, but I'm pissed. I'm pissed, just like most of us. All those hate watchers here. I miss chat is mostly positive. Yeah, most hate watchers are not actually interested in commenting or anything like that. So it'll always be a little bit, it'll always be skewed towards positivity. Thank goodness. Hey, Zapatito, says Lucas Suarez. Hey, Lucas. What's up? Greetings from New York. Do you think AI presents the potential for corporate rulers to more efficiently study what subtle shapes and themes produce certain subliminal results, making AI art a tool of unprecedented propaganda? I don't know if that specific end. It's of course possible, but the weird thing about the AI tools, and some of this stuff hasn't been in the news lately just because a lot of this stuff was revealed more recently or in the past, further in the past, it can learn things that humans cannot learn. Like it can detect things that humans cannot detect. Like I remember seeing a tool a while ago. I think you can find, I think I saw it on James Gurney's blog. So if you go back in there, you can find it. There was an AI tool that learned to detect the subtle pulses of reddening in people's flesh in videos caused by their blood coursing with the beating of their heart. And then they created a feedback loop with that where it would exaggerate it whenever it occurred in the image, and it produced these new videos where you could see people's blood pumping under their skin. That's something that it's impossible for humans to detect, but the nature of mass data analysis allows a computer to detect that. There's very worrying things that could come out of that. Like, for example, you know, CAPTCHAs where you don't need to do anything, but you literally just move your mouse and click, I am not a robot. The reason that CAPTCHA works is that it's detecting that you are moving your mouse the way a human moves a mouse instead of the way a robot moves a mouse. One of the knock-on effects like that, and it's been a while since I read in on this, so you might want to look it up. You know, I'm not sure if this is still totally accurate, but one of the knock-on effects like that is that the companies that analyze that data have found that they can detect if you have some sort of neuromuscular degeneration before your doctor can. Now imagine if they decide to reveal that information to your insurance company before they release it to you. troubling, extremely troubling. So the AIs can learn things that humans just can't detect, and the knock-on effects of that are quite worrying, really, really quite worrying. Christophe Mortier says, the problem is that artists are attacking the AI artists in the social media instead of the real problems, the companies that have created these models. Well, I can't say I agree with that. I mean, I'm not attacking anybody, but I try to focus on the companies and getting the word out there. I can't tell people what to do, you know. I don't think anybody should be out there bothering anyone in particular. I haven't been getting into arguments or fights with anybody. The end user thing is not my focus. I don't think it should be anybody's focus. I understand that the nature of online debate at a certain point becomes about talking past each other so that you can make your points to the audiences behind the other person. But I'm only engaging in civil conversations and talking to people on podcasts and things like that. Drive-by commenter with the $10. Thank you so much, drive-by commenter. That's a big coffee where I'm from. That's not some medium coffee. That's a thick coffee for Stevie Boy. Keeping me agitated, keeping me anxious, keeping me over-caffeinated, drinking that cowboy coffee. Drive-by commenter. Also, the argument of we'll be art directors instead of artists doesn't consider the current homogeneity of Marvel films or Ubisoft games would be multiplied. Ingenuity needs human craft. Yeah, and ingenuity needs time, too. I mean, trying to rush everything out the door with as much efficiency as possible is inevitably going to reduce everything down to the lowest common denominator. If you really want to do something special, you need time. You got to take your time and you got to think things through. One of the other problems is that the accelerationism that is being advocated for by these AI companies and the tech bros who are driving them is making it impossible to actually keep a pulse on things as an individual. It's very difficult to be a creative who is commentating on things these days because in the time that it takes you to make anything, even the simplest of sketches, the news cycle has moved on, technology has moved on, there's a new development that you haven't caught up with. The accelerationism is making it very, 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 very difficult to comment on things and to be a creative in this era. It's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. The AI companies are actually quite arrogant to think they can create utopia and solve all of humanity's problems. It's the worst kind of arrogance. I mean, that's absurd. They have no idea. It's their utopia. They haven't asked anybody what. If you had asked me what utopia I wanted, I would have put in a vote for how about a utopia where humans don't need to compete with robots to make art. That would have been part of my utopia. But they're not asking. It's their utopia that they want to make. And I get the feeling that their utopia puts them on top and gives them a lot of money. That's the feeling that I get. Sebo says, hello, Steven Zapata Art. Did you hear that recently China banned AI media without watermark? Do you think that can be a solution in the short term for the rest of the world? Saludes desde Chile. Saludes desde Nueva York. I don't know. It's a complicated thing, a really, really complicated thing. I don't know if it'll be a perfect solution. I think in China, it's more likely that that could be a solution because they're already up every company's ass, right? So they just need to see that you made a company that is making AI tools, and then they're like, well, we're just going to make you illegal unless you meet the Chinese Communist Party and you show us your technology and you show that it's built into the tech to do watermarks. So it could be a short-term solution in China. In the United States, we don't do things like that. So I don't think the same thing would work in the United States. But I do think it's interesting that people were saying that we had to do this in the US because if we did in China, certainly would. You were wrong about that, weren't you, fuckers? The Barlin channel with 10 BNG. I'm sorry that I don't know what 10 BNG is, but I'm going to assume it's $1 million US. So I'm rich now. That's cool. Love Danse Macabre in the background. I thought it was appropriate for the gravity of the situation and how seriously everybody's protesting. Friend gave up on art because of AI. I hate that. I hate that. That breaks my soul. That's what I'm resisting here. I don't think anybody should be giving up. I think the AIs are discouraging people and they're being about as damaging as possible to the very core of the human spirit. I find that disgusting. Friend of a friend also did. It's beyond sad to see. Yes, it is indeed beyond sad to see. We can hopefully maintain the moral high ground and keep talk going. Yeah, well, let's keep talk going. I don't know about moral high ground. I mean, let's argue the argument on its merits. You know, that's what I think. You know, I'm not going to pretend I'm the most moral person in the world. I mean, I think morals are subjective a lot of the time. I think we argue the argument on its merits. But I'm going to be slow to say that I'm holding moral high ground here. I think that really quickly crosses paths with like thinking my art is better than people's or really getting really insistent on that's not art, that is. It's like that produces its own problems that we've all been through. I mean, there's plenty of people who think that what I do isn't art. You know, I've dealt with that myself, even though I draw stuff on paper by hand from my imagination. It's totally subjective. Argue the argument on its merits. That's what I would say. What's illegal? What's unethical? What shouldn't set a precedent? What's going to damage markets? What's going to hurt people's livelihoods? I think that's the most pertinent stuff, personally. But everybody's going, this is such a huge non-monolithic thing that people are going to argue this in whatever way feels right for them. You know, Diba TM with another set of 100. You told me earlier, but I missed it. Was it rubles? I'm sorry. Chat's going by fast, so it take me a while to scroll up. But I really appreciate it, whatever amount it is, truly. I'm not asking anybody to give me money here. I just want to get the news out there. I'm broke, but I really wanted to pop in again and say MKBHD's latest video on AI creators sucked really bad. I'm sure most of us feel the same. Well, I saw a video by Marques Brownlee recently where he really seems to be up on these points, and he was talking about the data acquisition problems. I was very happy to see that. I'm not sure exactly which one you saw that you didn't like. Maybe we saw the same ones and took it a different way. Prod by Ghost says, I'm going to web scrape all artists' work Zapata first. I'll take the bullet for my friends. Don't take their work. Scrape mine first, AI bros. Please, scrape mine first. No. No. Please, don't scrape Ahmed's work. If you have to scrape someone's work, scrape mine. I can take it. I'm strong within myself. I have the inner steel. Please, scrape mine first. Scrape mine first. For the love of God, AI bros, scrape my work first. Leave the students alone. Leave the ones who will be hurt alone. I'll survive. I can take it. Scrape mine first, please. Optimism a bit here. Everything is so saturated by AI art already that I don't see how human art is not going to be valued more, or that there will not be a super clear and visible difference at least. It could go that way. I think it would be difficult. I think that the problem is that this is specifically flooding the market at the bottom, and that's what most people are going to see. And I think in the long run that will, because it will increase the value for artists, but if you're an artist who only sells to other artists, that really limits your audience, right? And I say that as someone who I feel I'm mostly an artist, right? Like I'm not really broad-based, and it's not like people really like people who aren't artists aren't my biggest user base. It's other artists. You know, they like what I have to say about art, the way that I make my art. So it might increase the value for someone like me, but that's just not the biggest audience. Most artists who make a living off of it, it's non-artists who are making up their audience. And that group is really going to, I don't think it's going to go well once they catch on that a lot of art that they didn't know was being made in the AI way was being generated with the press of a button, you know? I don't think that's going to be good for people in general. There are artists with aphantasia. Please stop making excuses. Yeah, I mean, people seem to think that everyone is entitled to their creative urge and has the right to creatively express themselves. I firmly believe that, but no one is entitled to a particular form of expression, because expression can take any form. You can't say that you cannot say, I'm a performance artist whose art is murdering people, and I'm entitled to my creative expression, right? You can't say that. No one's entitled to a particular form of creative expression. You are entitled to the creative urge and to find an appropriate way to express yourself. But I think a lot of the arguments about how you can't undo the models and that you shouldn't and that we should have these things and that there shouldn't be any push to go back to a public domain Creative Commons opt-in version is just based on this entitlement towards a particular form of expression, the form that they have been given by these unethical companies. And I just don't think that's right. I don't think anybody's entitled to a particular form of expression. Geigen Greg with the $5. It kind of bugs me when people say the issue is with capitalist pay structures and not AI. To me, it's like saying illnesses are only a problem because of human mortality. Yeah, thank you so much for the $5, by the way, Geigen Greg. And I agree. I mean, I think that trying to pass the argument off onto the political or the capitalist system is sort of missing the point, and it's not really going to help with the struggle. That ain't it. You know, I agree there's definitely problems with capitalism, but it's like, that's going a bit too far. We need to keep the argument within its rails. You know, we've got to address it on the most pertinent grounds, not blow it out of the water by turning it into some meta-political commentary. I just don't agree with that, you know. We can cross that bridge when we get to it. MT Art with the $2. Thank you so much, Mel. Steven, you're my favorite actor. Ever try drawing? No. I've had people say I should try it. I'll put it on the to-do list. I'll try drawing sometime. But I just, I love acting so much. I love just staring at myself in the bathroom mirror and emoting. Animation is already being threatened by AI. Look, 10 years ago, everybody would have laughed at the idea that art would be one of the first things automated. It's like, if it can automate art making, something that we all felt was too creative, then I think everything is susceptible to new data in this field. I mean, everything that might feel safe might suddenly find itself on the chopping block, unless we get our heads on straight and remind each other, everybody, like, the world is for humans to enjoy. There's no need to outsource everything that people enjoy to machines where there's nothing behind the eyes. They're not experiencing anything, and they're not receiving the experiential benefits of doing the work. There's no reason to do that. It's dumping some of the most important existential meaning and existential buoys that we have in life. It's dumping it into a void. It's giving it to something that is not there, is not experiencing any pleasure from it. It's only benefiting the people who own the models. It's absurd. I would pay $200 for an illustration, but not paying more than $10 to $15 for someone to photo bash some Midjourney generations. Even if you adapt to use it, you're still losing. I mean, why would you pay? I mean, just pay, $1 for 100 credits in Midjourney and make it yourself. I mean, you can see what the image is, right? Or you have a way to prompt it. Just start typing it. Get to typing. Why would you pay? It's only going to get better at that. I mean, it'll make the prompters obsolete very quickly. The problem is it will have done untold damage to the art industries by the time it gets there. What's the music playing in the background? Dance of the Nights by Sergei Prokofiev. Did you hear that someone used AI to create and publish a children's book? Yeah, I saw that. I'm not surprised. I mean, there's only going to be more and more stuff like that coming out. There's been a couple book covers that have been found to have used AI. The authors seem to have been upset about that. One of the authors commissioned the AI himself or commissioned the artists themselves and found that they were misrepresenting themselves, saying that they had made the image themselves and then finding out that it was made with an AI, and they didn't like that. They did not like that. Omega Weapon XCV says, among my social circle, the application of AI art is mostly in creating representations for their D&D characters. Those pics are not seeing the wider world, only the kitchen table. That's why I personally am not interested in arguing with what individual end users are doing, unless it's something really big, because it's like that lens that you're seeing in your particular social circle, that is just the tiniest offshoot capillary of a very consequential base decision made by a large company like Stability AI. That's where my focus is. What your friends are doing around the kitchen table is another thing entirely. It's like, if I stole someone's image and used it to sell 10 t-shirts from a cart on the corner, that is illegal, that is infringement, but the damages that I'd done equate to the 10 t-shirts. And when the other artist finds out, they can sue me for the money made from the 10 t-shirts, or however many I printed, or whatever like that. Like, the damages are easy to calculate. The problem with this system, and that might equate something like the insular, isolated, non-public use of this thing for your friends to make D&D characters for your game. The problem is that these tools are not like that. They are perfect infringement machines that will be around forever. And the damages that they have done are on a scale that they can undo an entire career. Those are very, very different things, and we can't let the differences in scale there get muddled together. You get what I'm saying? Andre Gouva, sorry for mispronouncing your name. 5 Russian R, I don't know. Ruples? What is that? Rubies? I don't know. But thank you for it, whatever it is. Since we can't undo the model, if we still stop, is there some way I can make, does anyone know if there's a setting in YouTube where I can make it just automatically convert other currencies to USD, just so that I don't get caught up saying that every time? Since we can't undo the model, if we still stop it as the tech is now, would it be enough to save the industry jobs, or is the damage already done? The industries, even if the models are out there, if a class action lawsuit or something like that comes out and gets it into the news, the copyright problems and how fraught these systems are with intellectual property and things like that, large companies will shy away from them. Large companies don't mess around with being litigated against. Whenever I did photo bash work for large companies, it wasn't my art director who would ask for my photography sources. It was a lawyer who worked for the companies who would ask for my photography sources to vet them and make sure that everything was okay to use. They really care. They really care about not getting litigated against. So even if the models are always out there, if we can get out there the word how troubling these things are, and if we can get courts to agree and legislation to get passed, even if they're out there, companies will shy away from them. As far as I know, for example, I heard that the current version of the Magic the Gathering Artist Handbook says don't use AI for any purposes because they are worried about it. Don't quote me on that. It's anecdotal. I heard that. I don't have a copy of the Magic the Gathering Artist Handbook. The problem is people think that artistic ability is purely an inborn gift or talent. They think it's unfair people can just make pictures in a way they can't fathom, therefore they deserve AI. Yeah, that is unfortunate, Sienna. That's just, what can we say about that? Pure ignorance, just ignorance. People not understanding how hard artists need to work. Even if they are pretty talented, every artist still needs to work insanely hard to get their work out there, to craft a habit that keeps them making work, to build an audience, and to make the work that they care about, you know? Even if you just have a great talent for the technical ability, it's hard for most artists to find what the hell they want to say with that technical ability. That's for sure. That Lyon model contains illegal images. I wonder if having that on your hard disk drive would count as possession. My gut tells me it would not, because the Lyon model, when you use the Lyon model, you use it through code, and it's a collection of URLs, not the images themselves, and then you direct whatever you're training to follow the URLs and look at the images. So I'm not sure it would be violation on, I'm not sure the possession of the images would be something to go after on the trainer's part. It's about the act of training and how the images are used by the systems, I believe. But that's something for lawyers to look at. I mean, that's really outside of my purview, or really the purview of anyone who isn't a professional. It's like, at that point, we've identified where the questions are, but then the actual academic debate of what is a use, what isn't, what's fair use, what isn't, what is the nature of these products when they do the training, that's for lawyers to argue. And it will indeed be one of the most academic legal arguments that we've seen in the art world in quite some time, I'm very sure. How could ArtStation possibly regulate this? It'd be very difficult. It would be very difficult, but they should take a stand. You know, the thing is that people can always just not say that they made something with AI, right? That's definitely true. That's always going to be troubling. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have policies in place. And you can also do a spin-off. You can also make AI ArtStation so that people who do want to do that, why do they feel a need to throw themselves in with people who are doing it in a different way? You can give them their own space. Process video or PSD file. Unfortunately, AIs are already faking process. They're making whips and things like that. And it won't be long before an AI can structure a PSD for you to make it look like you made it. You know, there's already scripts you can get for Photoshop that separate out your colors for you and things like that, giving you flats. So it won't be hard for there to be an AI that can do that. So I don't think PSDs and process images are going to be very useful for proving that you made something by hand, unfortunately. I think they're going to get pretty good at that. We got to get it at the core. You got to get it at the data acquisition. You just got to get everybody's heads on straight and everybody agreeing that it's just not right to use everybody's data in this way, however you want, whenever you want. It's bad, bad, bad. Bad, bad, bad. Yeah. Divine Fools Club says, why aren't you drawing? Ooh, he got me. No, I'm melting. Oh, God, no. Sergey Kritsky with the €5 donation. Sergey, how are you, sir? Thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. Sergey makes a layer factory that I have over here on the left side of my Photoshop. And ironically enough, like I just said, that there's already plugins that separate your colors out for you and stuff like that. Sergey's is one of them. You can bake your lighting with Layer Factory. It'll separate out for you like lights and shadows and colors. So yeah, I think unfortunately AIs will be able to fake PSDs and things like that. Layer Factory is a great tool. Go check it out on Gumroad. Just search Layer Factory, Gumroad. It'll pop right up. And I believe there's also a link to it in the video description. It's in my upload defaults. Let me make sure. Yeah, there's a link to Layer Factory in the description. Great tool. I also use Sergey's perspective tool for Photoshop as well. Did you see the new fusion power? I saw there was going to be an announcement that a research team had achieved some, what was it, net positive energy in a fusion reaction. I haven't looked into the details. I don't know if that's accounting for the externalities of running the machine, building the machine, and things like that. I don't know how much net positive energy it is. I got to go check it out. I was very distracted yesterday with feedback and the ArtStation protest popping up. A lot of energy around that. Geronimo says, did you see that AI can write game and movie reviews? The articles are very well written and will kill many journalists' careers too. Yeah, I always want to say GPT. No, I always want to say chat GTP because it's faster and easier to say, but it's chat GPT, right? Yeah, I'm assuming that's chat GPT you're talking about. Troubling. Also, people are already just having Chat GPT write their prompts for them for the AI image generators. They just say, hey, I want an image of a girl in a boat, and then they ask GPT to write it for them, and then they just plug what GPT says into Midjourney or Stable Diffusion. LOL. I hate the argument that AI just uses references like artists, when that is an absolute lie, and artists can get inspired by references when AI is just a mash of images spliced together. Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't intake images. We definitely don't take images the same way that AIs do. The argument that usually goes there is that this is just the same way that artists do it, so we should allow it. And that's built on two false premises. One is the false premises that just because it would do it the same way that we do, that we should then allow the action. That doesn't make any sense. Humans learn how to do plenty of unethical and infringing things that are illegal. So just because a computer would do it the same way doesn't mean that we should then allow the practice. So that's a false premises and completely wrong. And two, machine learning is not like human learning in any way. And the first people who will tell you that is the people who are making machine learning models. A lot of them admit straight up, they're like, no, this is not at all nearly as complicated as human learning or anything like that. The machine learning systems are simply probabilistic lookup tables they are not trying to make the best answer to an artistic question. They are just making an answer that fits probabilistically based on statistics. That's why they can do things like overfit, and they don't have a cohesive worldview. They don't understand context. Humans, on the other hand, do understand context, and they're always integrating their learning into a cohesive worldview. And our learning is never stuck in a static state the way that the machine learning models are always stuck in a static state after they've been trained. The latent space that they create cannot be changed without retraining the whole model from scratch. You can fine tune it, but the basis of the latent space is still in there. Humans never do that. And we see images 1,000 different ways on 1,000 different days, and we interpret all of the images that we see through lenses of emotion, focus. What we learned recently, images are always transforming and revealing new depths the more and more that we look at them. I'm sure that we've all had the experience of looking at an image that we've been looking at for years, and on viewing number 3438, we suddenly notice a detail in the bottom right corner that somehow had escaped us in all of the other viewings. That proves that we are subjective image interpreters, and that we interpret images with depth and with nuance, and sometimes through interesting lenses. Like I said, machines don't do anything like that. The machine learning models don't do that. They just ingest everything on the pixel to pixel level, and they come to statistical understandings of the aspects that are inside of them, and they regurgitate those statistical things in a way that we can barely even say is dumb, because who is there to be dumb? There's nothing behind the eyes to be dumb. There's nothing there. It's less than dumb. And that will prevent them from ever having context. And indeed, it's just nothing like human learning. It barely deserves an argument against it. It's just the idea that you would think that a fucking probabilistic machine learning model is anything like human learning is just completely fallacious. It's absurd. The AI doesn't want to create, it can't consent, and doesn't have consciousness of what it's doing. Indeed. Indeed. So AI is not really AI. Yeah, I mean, artificial intelligence is just a misnomer, a complete misnomer. It's just become the common word that everyone uses, but it's not the AI that people are trying to make, one that's conscious or sentient or anything like that. It's just a probabilistic lookup table, that is. That's all it is. I mean, if you need to prove that, it's like you can give me the same prompt and all the restrictions that you want over and over and over again, and I'll give you a different image over and over and over again. But the latent space of a machine learning model is a locked probabilistic statistical space that is explored with seed number and prompt, and those things are intrinsically mathematically linked. So if you have the same prompt and the same seed number, and you're using the same AI model, so you're not switching between Midjourney, DALL-E, whatever, if you give the same prompt and the same seed number to the same machine over and over again, it's going to give you the exact same response over and over again. And if you have the same seed number and the same prompt as somebody else, and you use the same model as them, everybody all over the world will get the same image output exactly. And in fact, they are so mathematically linked that if you have the image and the seed number, you can run the program in reverse and achieve the prompt necessary to produce that image. It's just that nobody actually runs the programs in reverse like that, but it's fucking locked. It's more like art finding rather than art generation. You're just exploring a geometric space that is highly multidimensional by using prompt and seed number. Anuj Mayapuri with a 200. Hi, Steven. A lot of youngsters I know who appreciate and practice art are getting discouraged because of the recent AI boom. What would you say to a youngster to keep their faith in art intact? First off, I would say get educated on the systems, how they're working, and some of the resistance that's coming up. The more that I've become educated on what's going on and the nature of the models, I have not become discouraged. I've become more encouraged. It becomes more and more clear that there are blatant problems with it, and almost everybody agrees with that. And that has actually increased my optimism. That something very serious is going to be done. So I think that if you educate yourself, you will become less discouraged. And I don't think it's a good idea to quit right now, because like I said, as I've become more optimistic, as I learn more, it makes it more likely that if we look 5 years into the future, it's very reasonable to me that we actually will have done something substantial here to prevent this completely undermining the creative industries. And if that happens, and you gave up today or yesterday or a few months ago, you will, when that happens 5 years from now, you will regret not having practiced for 5 years. That's really going to hurt. Besides, art is always worth doing on its own, even outside of any external incentivizing factors, because if you're a creative person and you have the creative urge in a real robust way, if you don't exercise your creative urge, it will give you spiritual and creative constipation, and it will ruin your soul. So I would be very, very careful about doing that. It's always worth making art even outside of internal incentives. The Dear Anthony Jones says, yeah, I've argued if we follow the premise that the AI studied reference like humans, that with that logic, the AI is the artist, not the prompt writers, and just like an artist being exploited. Indeed. Yeah, I just don't think it's false analogies all the way down to say that these things are operating the way humans do. Like, our physiology is incredibly complex. The nature of our consciousness is being conditioned by the nature of our bodies, everything that's going on around us. And again, the input from the cohesive world around us. These AIs are just not like us. They're stuck in a static state. They're not experiencing the world. And every model that you're playing around with is stuck. It's trapped the way that it is forever. I mean, it is dumber than dumb. It is dumber than dumb. They're not like us. They are not like us. I would listen to that argument once there was a reasonable case for the very worrying situation where someone is saying that Stable Diffusion is conscious. Not Stable Diffusion, but another AI system is really conscious, is sentient, has feelings. There's something it is like to be ChatGTP or something like that. Once that case comes up, then maybe we might worry about those points or start making those analogies, but I think it's nonsense before that. And that question is much grander than any individual industry or anything like that. And we just have no idea that that's even possible. And the people who are rushing towards that, as someone like Evan Conrad said, that a lot of these AI companies are basing their pursuits on trying to achieve a sentient or conscious robot that can then run the world for us and give us a utopia, that's very dangerous. I think it's very dangerous to bend your considerable intelligence and willpower towards giving people a utopia that is completely controlled by a sentient supercomputer without getting any goddamn input on what people think that utopia should look like. I think that that's a recipe for disaster and war, honestly. Who's going to decide what values the supercomputer impinges on everybody? Is it American values, African values, Indian values? Who gets to pick? Is it just decided by do we let it control too? Do we let the machine analyze values and decide which values are the best? On what basis? Is it consequentialist, utilitarian? Is it philosophical? Is it religious values? Like, there's all sorts of philosophical lenses with which to evaluate values, and people have been debating those for all of time. So you're really going to offer that up to the machine and then completely subjugate people to those values? It's madness. It's nonsense. And it's crazy. And I think it's incredibly dangerous that the AI people would be saying that we should push towards utopia on the back of everybody's hard-made human work. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Absolutely. It's a purely materialist viewpoint. In the viewpoint of Alan Watts, it's almost like it's not materialist. Like, a true materialist would be happy to hug trees and enjoy the beauty of leaves and just be absolutely pleased by the scintillating effects of light and shadow that are hitting their eyes and just rubbing silk blankets. And it's like, that's true materialism. Materialism is almost a misnomer. This is the abject worship of very non-material things like money and perceived value and status and control. It's disgusting. Ghost 13 says, I'm not even afraid of the AI. I'm more afraid of evil people that will use the AI. Well, I want to be slow to use the word evil. I don't think evil is the way to go. I think they're reacting to incentives, right? I think it's scary and I think it's stupid, especially the utilitarian stuff, but I'm very slow to label anybody evil. I don't think we need that in the equation. Everything that a company like Stability AI has done to me is it all makes sense just based on them being a company that wants money. They stumbled upon a mathematical function that would produce an interesting product, and they rushed to bring that product to market before anybody else could. That's it. That perfectly explains the situation that we're in, along with then once it's out there and it has made money, they want to protect the value for them that has created. I don't see any reason to add evil onto that. It adds something into the equation that muddies the waters, casts dangerous aspersions on individual human beings, and like I said, isn't actually necessary to sum up the result that we're at. So I'm slow to label anybody evil. I think they're foolish. I think they're not thinking things through, but I don't think somebody might be evil, but I would need very concrete evidence of that. I don't think it's useful to label people evil in this situation. It's just bad incentives, bad systems, bad axiomatic assumptions about the legality and the ethics of what they are doing. Carlos Royal said, Steven, at first I was excited with AI. To me, it was revolutionary as photography was in the past. It would free artists to new paths not explored. It could have been done better. You know, it's a dramatic technology. It's a dramatic technology. It's not like there's not things to be excited about there. It was just done so deeply wrong. So deeply, deeply wrong. Ruben Bhattacharya says, hey, Steven, great initiative. What do you have to say about the fact that people who hire artists, clients, art directors, and agency now prefer AI over human artists? Well, I've heard of that, unfortunately, but I don't want to paint with a broad brush and say that we're at the point yet where they prefer that. But for companies that are mostly concerned with the bottom line and with producing things fast, and if they're doing something that the AI does well, and they're not trying to produce something necessarily new and exciting, which unfortunately in the current state of things, most companies are simply incentivized to reiterate and recapitulate things that they have already done well over and over and over again. In those situations, the direction that the incentives push them are pretty clear. It's pretty clear what direction they're going to have to go in over and over again, which sucks. But I don't want to paint with a broad brush. A lot of the art directors that I've met really value being in human contact and talking with people, and they would look very dimly on a future of them, typing to themselves in a dark room to deliver things for their clients. It's definitely there, unfortunately, but I don't want to paint with a broad brush. It's not everybody. I'm an engineer and I side with artists here, but also think there's something good in it. From Mehul Sharma. Like I said, it's there's definitely dramatic and exciting things in the technology. But I think it's right to side with artists, and it was just done extremely wrong. It was done extremely wrong. As I've said before, not everybody agrees with me on this, but an ethical version of the AIs, which honestly at this point, with the way things are going, seems very far away, unfortunately. I personally don't have I wouldn't use it, right? That's not why I make art. It's not the kind of thing I'm doing. I love the process. I love the feeling of spending hours and hours and hours making art. It makes me feel joyful. It makes me feel existentially satisfied. But for the people who are interested in that, I think they should be able to pool their work and make an AI model if they want to, but it should be opt-in, shouldn't be stepping on anybody, and it shouldn't be without consent undermining other people's viability in the marketplace. That's crazy, a crazy thing to do. Crazy thing to do. AI bros going mad. Steven has Photoshop open. LOL. I don't know. I don't see anybody being that mad. I think we're mostly having a nice discussion here. Miguel Espinoza says, there are blatant problems, but I do think it can be used as a great assistant for artists to do more with less resources. If they can be solved, art, money, and photo forging are the most urgent. It really is just that there's plenty of good things we can imagine doing with it, but no noble end justifies the bad way that they've been made and everything that they're predicated on. It's completely flawed down to its core. So the ends justifying the means argument, I'm not there with it at all. I don't think it makes any sense. It doesn't work for me. It really doesn't work for me. Ever says, I hope we might someday go back to analog living to a higher degree with local artists working with local clients, avoiding mass production in a hugely idle society. Here's to hoping, friends. Here's to hoping. Plap is mad. Skull Chimes is angry. We're all mad. We're all mad. Oh, we're all very mad here. Tangible art is the most valuable anyway. AI can only do digital art copied in the style of other artists. Yeah, the trick is going to be that if we want to throw our hats in with tangible art again, we will need to reanalyze and rebuild the way that we distribute our art. Because right now, even the most traditional artists, a huge part of their market and their viability is based on showing their art in social media and online. And if that space, if this continues, is going to be flooded with AI images that pretend to be traditional paintings and drawings and everything like that. It can copy traditional drawings as well as it can copy digital drawings. So that's extremely worrying. That's extremely worrying. So in order for traditional art to have breathing room and for it to really be sort of where we hang our hats in the future, we'll need to sort of reassess where we share that, how we share that, what the environment is for that, for sure. Very many people love digital art, so moving to traditional isn't effective. Yeah, that's the other problem. It's like digital art is just a lot of people's favorite tool. You know, it's a fun way to make work. It would be a sad thing to just let AI completely sideswipe that for no reason. I like working digitally. I love traditional more, but I like working digitally. It's fun. You are welcome in Morocco, Stephen. We can have tea and hang out. I will be in Morocco someday. I've got a lot of beautiful places in the world on my hit list. Steve, have you seen this? I think URLs are blocked in my chat, and I will keep it that way. Describe to me what I have not seen, and I will let you know if I've seen it or not. What if the resistance doesn't win? Don't give up so soon. There's a real vibrant argument and fight to have here. It's going to be all right. I just gotta doodle while I talk. I can run my mouth a lot, but I always gotta be doodling a little bit. I just can't help it. What are you doodling? I don't know. Let's say it's old Jon Snow for the upcoming Jon Snow sequel to Game of Thrones, which I don't think is a great idea, personally. But, you know, we'll wait and see. House of the Dragon was better than I thought it would be. Well, what was John? Was John the 997th or the 998th Lord Commander? And then he left, and then someone replaced him, one of his friends, right? Would they then have become the 999th? And then when John goes back to the wall at the end of the series, if he becomes Lord Commander again, would he be the 1000th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch? Or did George R. R. Martin specifically make it so that he wouldn't get that cool title? Would he only be the 999th? How did your parents react to your art journey? You know, my parents were pretty hands-off. They didn't try to discourage me or anything like that. I can definitely say about my parents that if they didn't really know about something, they at least had the good grace to not pretend they knew about it. So when I told them they were going to be an artist, that I wanted to be an artist, they were like, huh, okay. Do your research, you know? And they sort of got out of my way. I was always a very independent kid. You know, my parents didn't really get involved in my business too much. And that really worked out for me. You were lucky. Indeed, I was. Just a little sketch really calms me down. It really calms me down right away. You gotta draw, people. I am drawing along to it, kind of nice. That's the whole point, baby. That's why I'm here, baby. How many others are creating while you listen? That's why I like to stream. I like the feeling that we're all talking about art together, creating art together. Camaraderie, friendship. It's like a asynchronous studio kind of a feeling. Have you ever struggled with maintaining a consistent sleep schedule? I haven't. I've always been blessed with being a pretty good sleeper. But I have a lot of friends who struggle with sleeping. You know, they go nocturnal really easily and things like that. So I would watch out. I would definitely watch out. I wish I had better advice there. Just I'm not very up on it because I haven't struggled with it personally. But you do got to take care of your sleep. That's so important. Geronimo says, have you seen the animated series Primal? I don't know why it reminded me of you and your incredible art. I've got to check it out because I've seen it recommended many times. I don't watch that much animation these days, but I got to look into it. What's your favorite traditional painting medium? Probably watercolor. Probably watercolor. Not for finishing stuff. I can't finish stuff with it, but I love it for sketching. Any sixth book believers in this chat? I don't think it's coming out. I don't think so. I've been drinking a lot of water because I've been talking so fast and so much. I'm going to go use the restroom. I will be right back. Sorry, I forgot that one doesn't loop. My bad. That one doesn't loop, and I was taking the longest pee in art stream history, and it was incredible. That was great. It was one of those ones where the tears stream down your face. Love it. The freedom. The release. I'm going to leave the little AI protest page up while we do a little drawing. Let's see how it's doing. Yeah. It's a lot of anti-AI. Yep. Say no to AI art. Wow. Yeah. People know what they want. That's funny. That is funny. People know what they want. Jesus. The people know what they want. Where'd my chat go? If you're on ArtStation, man, go check out the protest. Go check out the protest for sure. And if you want to get involved, grab that image and post it on your ArtStation as well. Is there any massive lawsuit against AI machines from art companies? From art companies, not yet, but people are organizing for sure. We artists seriously need to unite more against this. Yes, yes. Tell your friends. Unite. Get angry. There will be more opportunities for unification coming up shortly. Would you sue Lyon since they built the data set? If you're in their jurisdiction, you would sue Lyon. The question is, who's the you here, you know? But yeah, I think you could sue Lyon for allowing things that are in violation of their terms of service. That's what I think, but a lawyer would need to look at it. I mean, Lyon says right on their stuff, like if we look at be aware that this large-scale dataset is non-curated. It was built for research purposes to enable testing model training on larger scale for broad researcher and other interested communities, and is not meant for any real-world production or application. Again, is not meant for any real-world production or application. Research purposes, research purposes. Not for-profit, non-research uses. There's certainly a lot of profit going on. Certainly a lot of allowing commercial licensure. No good. People still shoot 35mm cameras while digital is available and still use pen and paper while digital is available. This isn't like that. This is a technology that will, no matter what you use, with a camera, with digital, with pen and paper, everything that you make, if we allow them to run roughshod over copyright and data acquisition, everything that you make forever for the rest of time will be able to be subsumed back into the systems and used against you and make you unviable in the marketplace. That is completely unlike every other technology. Your analogy is false. There is no technological analogy to this. There is no other technology that is completely based on wholesale data theft and unethical acquisition and use. The analogies don't track. This is something that needs to be looked at on its own. And the damage that is possible from this is untold, not just to artists, but to people from all walks of life. They are completely different things. Get your bad analogies out of here. I'm sick of all these bad analogies. Just parroting the same old faultless crap that you're reading everywhere else. It's nonsense. Anyone who's thought about this for 2 seconds can see that it's a very different kind of a thing. Hello, I really want to ask, what should we do as artists right now? More to economically side of things. Just wait a little bit longer. Just wait a little bit longer. Keep your eyes on the Concept Art Association. Keep your eyes on Equity UK. Keep your eye on these spaces. Right now, I have to admit there's not a cohesive place to throw your efforts behind. Check out Concept Art Association's recent Supporting Human Artists campaign. You can let them know that you are open for commissions, and they're going to put out a list of people's commission emails and rates and what they do to help support human artists who are willing to do the work that some of these tools are trying to swipe, things like Lensa and things like that. And more will be coming out very soon. Just take a little breather. It won't be long before it's very clear where you can put time, effort, support, money, whatever you'd like to contribute. Do you think it's a good idea to go to an art school now in Canada? Tuition is not that much of a problem here. If tuition is not an issue, if the money doesn't get stuck in your craw, art school's a pretty good idea, I think. Not necessarily for the technicals. Art schools have sort of pulled away from being super technically heavy, and you can learn a lot of that stuff online, but there's still a great amount of value there for making connections, making friends, practicing your social skills, hearing the kinds of critiques that professionals have instead of just trying to critique yourself. There's still a lot of value in all of that. I think a lot of people, when they look at going to an art school, the main metric that they have for value is like, how good am I going to get at drawing the figure coming out of that or something like that. And there's certain schools that will indeed make you very good at that, or at least provide the resources to become very good at that. But let's be honest, a lot of art schools have pulled back from that, and they're much less technical. But if you open up your mind on the metrics, there is a lot of other things it can help you with, truly. Especially the critique thing. Like if you can go to a school that has very good teachers who give sophisticated critique, that's something that's very difficult to fake online, and it's a very, very valuable thing, a thing that a lot of people overlook. Like you need to hear your art run through a more sophisticated filter so that you can try to mimic that filter. That's very, very useful just on its own. And yeah, for connections and friends, friends and connections are very, very important in the art industry. So if the money's not a problem, I still think art school's a good job. You just got to have a good idea. You just need to have realistic expectations. Derp Fanlo says, Steven seems to have this chaotic aura that induces incessant discourse among otherwise non-willing participants. Considering the topic of discussion, this is to be expected. I want to thank everybody who helped me get this award. I mean, I never would have thought that, I would receive the Grammy for best chaotic aura, but here I am. I want to thank my mom. I have to admit that a lot of my chaotic aura came from my mother. I want to thank my agent, my wife, of course. You know, she's always been supportive of my chaotic aura and of producing incessant discourse and everybody around me. Oh boy, here comes the music. I see they want me to get off. Before I go, I just want to remind everybody, you know, AI art is going to be a problem. So try to, you know, unionize and fight against it in whatever way that you can. I know I'm going. So just keep that in mind and support each other. And art is meant to be done in spite of the external repercussions and everything like that. So please take care of each other and support each other. I really appreciate the reward. I love you. Holy Spirit. Splashed water all over my face. Steven, when did you start hitting 700 viewers a stream? I was up at 800 earlier. It's mostly hate watchers. You know, if I'm just drawing, I get like 100 people watching. But if I rant about AI, suddenly everybody's in here. It's just hate watchers and drama watchers and things like that. That's why I started drawing a little bit, to kind of peel off some viewers, get the people who are here for bad reasons to sort of move on. Yeah. You know how it is. I'm not much for drama. You guys know that. My channel has never been based around what's clickbaity or anything like that, or yanking people in like that. I'm just trying to get the word out there. But yeah. If my stream title implies that all I'm doing is drawing, there's no way there's 600 people in here. It's all just hate watchers. AI people who want to hear my sophisticated arguments and try to prepare to argue against them. Steven, your face is clickbait. I see the thumbnail I have to click. They say if you, they say you're supposed to put your face in every YouTube thumbnail, but I've never been one for doing what they say to do. I just like to do things my way, and that's it. I'm narcissistic like that. Kursman says, just make AI art impossible to own. It might go that way. Currently, the US Copyright Office is not granting copyrights to anything that people admit is made with AI. The problem is that people don't need to admit. It's easy to just not mention it and still get a copyright on it. So there still needs to be more controlled regulations and strictures. Don't tell anybody. Playlist, please. This playlist will make you feel like a 19th century villain on YouTube. You just type that in, it'll pop right up. Is today's playlist supposed to reflect your mood? You betcha. You betcha. I want to be the bad guy in the AI Bros story. Chat and Steven, you guys made my day. Thank you. It's been nice. Happy to make your day, DSFF. Peace and happy drawing to you. I should be sleeping, but the stream, it's too interesting fun. Look, you need your rest. Go get your rest. Look, now I'm in the part of the stream that no one wants to hang around for. Now I'm just drawing, you know, being actually creative. Instead of just dunking on AI. Do you have a single screen or multiple monitors? Multiple monitors. I'm using 2 right now. I have 3. I was using 3 for a while, but using 3 for some reason when when one of those 3 monitors is the Huion Kamvas that I used to draw on, I was getting really frequent crashes. So I went back to 2. I've just been lazy to troubleshoot and figure out what exactly is causing it. Might be time for a new computer. Maybe I was just pushing it too hard. Running 4, a 2K monitor, a 5K monitor, and a 4K monitor, drawing on one of them, and streaming multiple parts of the setup. Maybe I was just pushing it too hard. I'm drawing, Steven. Jesus, good. Good. Keep drawing. How do you be sure about your career when just starting out? I am an art student planning to move to Canada from a third world country to pursue art. Do you think it might be a bad idea? I mean, art's always a risk. I mean, it's not a bad idea if you need art in your life. If you're just a creative person down to your bones, you got to do it no matter what. You got to do it no matter what. But if you feel like it's not a no matter what thing for you, if you're doing art kind of like on a lark, or it's like it's gotta make me, you know, a certain amount of money or something like that, you've got to be realistic about understanding that it is a risk. It's art. It's still hard to make an art career no matter what. It's always going to be a risk. You got to take that seriously. Are you happy with the Huion Kamvas? I had it and sold it for the Cintiq 24. For me, it's all about the pen experience. I'm not really happy with it, but it's cheaper than a Cintiq, and I don't like any of the on-screen drawing solutions except for the iPad Pro, so it's fine for me. For me, the Huions, the Wacoms, all of them, the drivers are just unbelievably bad. I find them all frustrating. The pen experience is pretty comparable to me. I don't mind. And they all have a lot of other drawbacks. Like they all have like that noisy layer on the screen from the texture that's applied over the screen. That drives me crazy. I like how crisp the iPad Pro is. A lot of people don't like the glassy surface for drawing of the iPad Pro, but I'll take that and get like the perfectly no noise screen any day. So I don't like any of the typical solutions. So I'm fine to just take the cheaper one since I won't be happier with the one that's twice the price. Interesting. My Huion monitor is monitor 4 for me and no issues. Gotta love it. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm sure if I troubleshoot it a lot, I could find it. I just have been lazy to do it. Well, not lazy, just I've got so much other stuff going on. I haven't found the time to do it, and I'm not really strained for the third monitor right now. I can work around it a bit. Hey, Steven, any book recommendations for learning costume design? For design, I really think design is a situation-to-situation question. So I think for design, it's really just, it comes down to the project, and you got to learn the costume analogs that are relevant for that project. So if you're on a Norse project, you got to research Norse costumes and things like that. For the fundamentals of like how to draw fabric and how to design the way clothes fit over a body, my usual recommendation is Barbara Bradley's How to Draw the Clothed Figure. It's not a costume design book. It's draftsmanship focused, but it's one of the few books that goes really deep into draftsmanship. So I would definitely recommend that one. It's one of my favorites. It's been around for a very long time. It's an old book. I went through it when I was like pretty young, like 15 years ago or something like that. It's been in my library for a long time. The episode with Mache was fire. Thanks for doing this. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, if anyone didn't see it, I did a podcast over on the Art Cafe podcast hosted by Mache Kuchiara. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Mache, but we talked about all this AI stuff. This was before the ArtStation protest, but if you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts, we went into all sorts of stuff there. We covered the deep stuff. We covered the practical stuff. It got pretty far out. What kind of graphics card that you have? I'm running everything off of a iMac, so it's an AMD. It's like one of the AMD Pro cards. A Radeon Pro Vega 48 8GB. That's what I'm running off of. Hey, Steven, can I ask if you enjoy the ability to draw fast? Does it increase the love for art? Because the more time you take in a piece, the more you get bored of it and frustrated. I can draw fast, but honestly, I spend most of my time reminding myself to slow down rather than telling myself to go quick or anything like that. I sort of naturally draw quicker when I'm on stream because just there's people watching, and I can't ignore the fact that there's a performative aspect to it and that people might get bored, but that's almost accidental. I wish I could fight against that. You know, it's hard. When I'm not streaming, I try to go as slow as possible, actually. I mean, there's no getting around it. The more time you give yourself and the more lovingly you pay attention to every little aspect, the better the pictures come out, almost inevitably. Is all this. Better figure out how to use AI in your work. Negative. No one has to do anything they don't want to. In art, art practices are meant to be a wide variety of things and all sorts of things, and there's absolutely no reason that anybody should have to do their practice the way that you think they should do their practice, or that they should be enslaved to constantly adapting to random adventitious changes in technology instigated by madmen who don't really care about art and are just trying to come to market as quickly as possible with something that will make them a lot of money. That seems like a stupid thing to enslave your art practice to. So no, you don't better figure out how to use AI in your work. Besides, it's just going to make you eminently replaceable. I mean, anybody who learns how to integrate AI is just going to train the AI and incentivize them and make them better and better and better and better and accelerate to their inevitable and eventual replacement. So no, can't say I agree with that. Saman Kucher, why didn't they train the AI on copyrighted music just like they did to copyrighted art? Because it was more clear that even the slightest implication of copyright infringement would bring litigation from the music companies. That's my guess, but they've never said anything about why they did that. Unless if you read what they themselves said, which is that using copyrighted data in the material in a system that is inclined towards overfitting would likely produce copyright infringing materials as output. I mean, if you believe what they said about it, then that's your reason right there. Hey there, appreciate your video on AI art. Agree with valid concerns. I've been enjoying using AI in my work, but recognize ethical problems. Hope AI can become more ethical in the future. Good luck. I also hope it will become more ethical. It really must. It needs to be redone ethically. Can't keep going like this. Wait, I just got off work. What's going on? There's a protest of AI art going on ArtStation. Pretty interesting. If you go to ArtStation, you go to the latest or the trending tab, you'll find what I have up here. Boop, boop. You'll see all that. People posting, incentivizing human-made art. Razgrits, Steven Zapata, an artist using AI will still be better at it than a non-artist. The experience, the ability to change and edit the picture and so on will not even be comparable. Negative. I mean, it's just a time function. It doesn't matter if you can incrementally improve a picture made by an AI because you're still mechanically limited. You will need to do those improvements to faces, hands, compositions. It'll take you hours. AIs will always have you beat just on volume. And even if you're incrementally better than it, the question is, will that incremental improvement matter in the long run? Will you be able to make a living off of that incremental betterness? Will you be able to make a career off of that incremental betterness? Will you be able to carve a place in the world that is meaningful out of that incremental betterness? The answer, as far as I can tell, is basically no. No, even if you were incrementally better in such a way that you could hang your hat on, well, the best art is still made by a human using an AI, it's like no one in the world's going to give a crap but you. And it's going to reduce prosperity for the people who have put as much time as possible into making art. And it's going to give very little prosperity to the huge amount of people who are coming in at the bottom and making themselves irrelevant, for sure. Artists shouldn't fear AI. Yeah, it's interesting that you guys are all jumping in now. I wonder what this is all about. Yeah, it's not about fear. It's about resisting something that is clearly, ethically, and probably legally incorrect and pushing back against it and making sure that things are done right. It's not about fear. I mean, there's plenty of good reasons to fear and be upset and be angry, but fear is not the ground floor of the discussion. It's just about correcting the horse shit. That's all it's about. Steven, do you have any tips for studying artists? I just try to copy them line for line. I'm not sure I accomplish anything except getting better at copying. Also, this chat as well. Yeah, if you're only copying them line for line, you probably are only getting better at copying. What I would advise is maybe if you're stuck in that rut, take a break from copying and instead just bring their work into Photoshop or take a piece of tracing paper and just diagram over it, like write notes to yourself. Do red lines to call out like, sort of like what I did here. Like if you were, this is not worth studying, you know what I mean? But do red lines over it like I did here, where I analyzed my own compositional gut choices and checked them to see if I agree with them. Take some of your favorite people's work and just do diagrams like this to try to understand, what do the flows do? What do the rhythms do? What do the shapes do? That's not copying. That'll break you out of just mechanically trying to recapitulate particular lines and shapes, and instead you'll try to understand why those lines and shapes work. Try to pretend that you are trying to teach about the piece in front of a class. Put yourself in that mental framework. Razgrit says, that's such a defeatist attitude. It also implies that this is all about money. I think that the advancement of AI concepts such as UBI will be pushed more, or they should. I see no reason to believe that the politics in the world that I'm used to that it's a good thing to say, yeah, let's trash everything in the hopes that this forces UBI. I'm not there. And I don't have a defeatist attitude. I really don't. I mean, you're completely misinterpreting this if you think that this is a defeatist attitude. I think art is always worth doing. I think that people always find good reasons to make art. Yeah, it's not about defeatism. It's just that it's openly and laughably wrong to undermine people's viability in a marketplace with a skill that they've based a huge amount of time and effort, and well-placed time and effort, in trying to learn. And a thing that they really is just, you have to resist society. You have to really trust in yourself. It's a spiritual journey. Yeah, it's not a defeatist attitude at all. I missed the last AI stream. Will it be re-uploaded? I think I'm going to leave that one unlisted. Just because I was watching a bunch of people's videos on it, and I don't know how the regulations around reaction stuff work, so I just don't want to leave it up there. Better not bother people with that. I was just there's nothing interesting in that stream anyway. I'm literally just reading articles and blog posts in that stream. There's nothing interesting about watching me read. Get a busker license and draw at the pier. UBI is kind of nonsense. All advancements in automations haven't led us closer to UBI. Why would they now? Yeah, automation just centralizes capital with the powerful people. It's going to keep doing that. I have fun prompt crafting on Midjourney. Does that make me a bad guy? Yeah, it's not about what's going on for the individual end user. At least not for me. Some people would disagree, but what's going on with you when you're using the program is not necessarily connected with what's going on all the way at the core, right? I think the whole endeavor is flawed from its core because of the data acquisition and the way that these things were made. But I'm not trying to say you're a bad person because you're reacting to incentives and things that are out there. I don't do it, you know, I don't agree with it, but this isn't about casting moral aspersions like that. Unless you're doing something blatantly, you're sitting there purposefully trying to infringe, you know, then obviously that's not the coolest shit you could do. But I don't know, I really don't worry too much about what's going on with the end users. That's not going to stop me from trying to rectify the situation all the way down to the core, but... Yorch Mister says, we're doomed. AI is too far and it cannot be stopped. AI prompt artists already pumping out art that's genuinely hard to recognize, whether it's AI or not. It's over. It is not over. It is definitely not over. The more I learn about it and the more people that I talk to about it, the more I have realized that it is definitely not over. There is a realistic discussion, argument, and fight to be had here, both on moral grounds, ethical grounds, interpersonal grounds, and legal grounds. It is absolutely not over. Everybody who you tell about this stuff, everybody, and by everybody I mean including professionals, like legal professionals, machine learning professionals, they all a huge portion of them shake their head and go, you can't do that. You can't do that. Will this stream be uploaded? I have to run some errands. Yeah, this one will stay up. I leave almost all of them up. They're all just sitting there on my channel. I think the accessibility argument is hilarious. So much of this argument hinges on non-artists believing they're entitled to instant gratification predicated on other people's work. It's kind of gross, to be honest. Yep. We're not doomed and it's not over. LOL, everyone hates AI and now it's getting so much pushback and stigma. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's over at all. I mean, the vast majority of just rational people land on the side of this of like, this is silly and you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't be doing that with everybody's data. You just got to make them care, you know, and this isn't like other things. Like, this is going to explode out of the art world very, very soon. So a lot of people are going to care a lot. It's going to get a lot of attention. Yeah. Once you get people's eyes on it and they're really legitimately interested in it, everybody looks at this situation. They're like, this is crazy. Don't do that. And they see that it's silly. They see that it's silly to rip off millions, if not billions of people and all of their hard work to just regurgitate it dumbly. It's like, they get it. Grey White Sufi says, if you would be an actor, I feel like you'd be Jake Gyllenhaal from Nightcrawler smashing his bathroom mirror. How good of a movie is Nightcrawler, man? That's a great movie. Nightcrawler was a dope movie. They are betting on people giving in to despair, spending billions on that bet. Keep hard and fight on. God bless. Absolutely. Yeah, do not give in to despair. They are betting on that. They're relying on that. They're relying on people just rolling over and just not believing that it's possible to do anything here. Can't let that happen. There's no good reason to let that happen. There is something to be done here. Watching Sakimi Chen the other day, she mentions using reference without giving credit to Instagram artists. For me, this is very similar, but actually somewhat villainous. It is not. It's a difference in scale. There's a difference between one person doing something questionable and releasing infringement machines that will undermine people's viability in the marketplace for all perpetuity. Those are clearly different things. It's a scale issue. Steven, I don't know if you've talked about this prior in stream, but what do you think about the moves China has taken with requiring watermarks and identification with AI content? It's interesting. I mean, a lot of people had been saying that we had to just push through with AI no matter what, because if we didn't, China would. I said when that was brought up in the Proco discussion with me, Stan Prokopenko, and Carlo Ortiz that that's not true and that we're not foreign affairs people, and the people who are saying this have no idea what's going on in China. They're just talking out of their ass, and it was true. Yeah, it turns out China was going to push against it and do something else. The thing is that it doesn't, we couldn't do it the way they're doing it here. You know, we don't do things the way China does. China is already in every business's business. I don't know what it'll mean in the short or long term, because again, I'm just not familiar enough with how China does that to businesses and the kinds of oversights that they have and things like that. Yeah. How do these models learn if they have no concept of good or bad? I feel it's BS and they just manually tweak them to copy better. Well, no one actually quite knows how machine learning models generate the latent space or how they come to the conclusions that they do within the latent space, how they shape it exactly. But they don't really know what's good or bad. In fact, they need to pre-weight the data sets to make them make gooder things. Like there's aesthetic subsets of some of the data sets like Lyon 5B or Lyon 200. They have subsets called Lyon aesthetic where they've pre-decided for you what's a better image and what's an uglier image, and then that affects what you get out of the AIs. That's its own whole can of worms that they're pre-weighting it and they're not letting you decide what's good or what's bad. Drive-by commenter with $5. Thank you so much, drive-by commenter. Maybe this is the shoe that Snowden advocates needed to drop. Taking people's data only had a mixed reaction. Taking the people's voice, however. I think everything about this is going to rub people the wrong way. I think people are going to care about this hugely. They're really going to care. I mean, People don't like this, you know, especially normal people who, you know, lay the case out on your aunt and see where she lands. Everybody, if you actually talk to people about it, everybody's like, why are they doing that? Robots making art? Like eye roll, stupid, ridiculous. And it's just like, yeah, leave them alone. Leave artists alone. Lay the case out on your aunt, see what she thinks. I still don't get how AI generations are infringing. I've Google searched all the pictures I've generated and haven't found one even slightly similar to the picture. Infringement just seems interesting take, but I don't think totally accurate. It comes down to overfitting, and that's an argument for lawyers to have. But Ahmad himself has said that Stable Diffusion has huge problems with overfitting in an image model. What does overfitting mean but regurgitating copyrighted content? But it'll all come out. What is the best thing to do as a small artist who rejects AI to help the artist community in this situation? More things will come out. It just takes time to organize, but people are organizing. People are organizing. For now, get educated. Read about it. Learn about how they work. Just read up. It just takes time to organize, but people are organizing. Hayao Miyazaki said that the end of humans are near. He's a legend too. It's scary. No one knows what's going to happen. Not even Hayao Miyazaki. No one knows what's going to happen. Logically, people use AI, ask for artwork using prompts are not so different than a client that asks me an artwork describing what he wants. They're not creating. They should not have the ownership. Well, as of right now, I mean, it's going to change from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but for now, the U.S. Copyright Office is not granting copyright to AI created works. AI people will lie, they just won't say that they made it with an AI, but for now, as far as the Copyright Office is concerned, there's not enough human effort in there, and copyright is predicated on human authorship, so they're not giving copyrights to it. It has started affecting other industries. GitHub Copilot spits out recognizable chunks of others' code without attribution, hence breaking contracts. Yeah, check out, for anyone who's really interested in this stuff, check out the GitHub Copilot litigation. You can go to, let me make sure I have the address right. GitHubCopilotLitigation.com. Put the URL there. If you read the class action complaint under today's filings, it's the first one. It's many pages, but it's actually a pretty quick read because it's heavily double spaced and all that. I read it in like an hour one morning, but it has very clear explanations of the issues there, of overfitting, of how it regurgitates copyrighted materials, how it regurgitates things that are under particular kinds of licensures without honoring the licenses. And they frame their argument beautifully. I think it's worth it for anybody who's interested in this stuff to check that out and give that a read. It's very, very good. That really depends on how the model is trained. Used though, overfitting is an issue that will get resolved eventually, but still the content produced falls well into the definition of transformative. Transformative is a non-exclusive aspect of fair use that is applied to a fair use defense. Fair use is not some sort of magical phrase that if you think that you're in it, that means that you're protected from copyright infringement. You should go read the fair use clauses or the fair dealing clauses if you're in the UK. It is simply a defense transformative aspects of it are non-exclusive, and everything else can be brought into contention. And one of the biggest parts of fair use evaluations is that it does not cause market damage to the thing that is being used. And the AIs clearly are producing market damage because they're trying to make work in people's styles, and they're using their names and flooding the internet with work that they didn't make but is associated with their names. You have to do insane mental gymnastics to try to argue that that is not causing market damage to the individual artist. And that is one of the most important parts of fair use. I recommend that you go read it and start sweating. Transformative is not the end all be all of fair use. Why do you think it is taking so long for more class actions? Because lawyers are thoughtful people, hopefully. It just takes a long time to write those complaint letters. I mean, if you go read the GitHub Copilot litigation one, it's very well worded. It takes time to write things like that. ArtStation prompt artists are paying pro status on their account and uploading AI art. This is awful. Well, you know, I mean, the pro tag it's literally just a pay for it thing. It's not about vetting that you're a pro or anything like that. Like, people can just pay for it. So that's going to happen. I don't know. I don't think that's the biggest problem. I mean, people are trying to hit ArtStation in the wallet, but I don't really know if that's the proper direction or how realistic it is to damage their wallet. I'm not actually even sure how ArtStation makes most of their money. You know, it might be easy to assume that it's the pro accounts, but we don't know. At least I don't know. I've never read any disclosures about that. Mental gymnastics coming to the Internet Olympics in 2024. How did the ArtStation thing start? Is there something similar going on for Behance, Adobe? I don't know. I don't think there's anything going on. I haven't seen anything for Behance or Adobe, actually. I'm not sure who organized the ArtStation AI thing. I believe Nicholas Cole might have been one of the first organizers. Yankee says, dang, people really come to the stream like moths to a light when you start talking AI. I know, that's why I can't really take them that seriously. I mean, they just show up to debate AI and be mad about it. And it's just, I know as soon as I start drawing and being a happy, normal person, they all they all fly away. They don't actually give a fuck. These people do not have the courage of their convictions. They're just defending their new favorite toy from the past 6 months. It's like, I'm just not really worried about it. People just fly in. I haven't seen one anti-AI on Behance, which is odd. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we'll see what happens. Different art sites have different communities, you know? Different communities that are more inclined toward one thing or the other. They are selling nude photograph references? You mean ones generated by AI? That seems like a bad idea. Omega Weapon says, should art style be copyrightable? I'm erring on the side of no because of all the crap companies like Disney will do to abuse it. I don't think anyone's realistically trying to copyright style in this argument. It's about data acquisition and data use. It's about what people can do with everything that everybody makes. People are certainly upset about their styles being ripped off and people making models that use their name to say, hey, this model produces art in this person's name and style. That seems just ethically fraught. That also to me seems like clear market damages and reduces the viability of somebody selling their work for the same value. So I think that, again, there's a realistic academic debate to be had about fair use there. There's no, but yeah, style is not copyrightable as I understand it. And I don't know how many people are honestly thinking they might try to change that or something like that. I personally don't see that happening, but I don't know. That's not what I'm talking about here. That's not the basis that I'm arguing on. There's plenty of other places to plant your feet on this one rather than style. I love drawing to your streams, also with you talking about AI in your wonderful video. You've helped ease my mind about the future. I'm happy, Death Bro. I like to ease minds. I'm glad you draw along. Drawing is fun. Drawing is the goddamn best. Adobe has its own AI thing going on right now. They're definitely working on products. The recent thing Adobe has done is that they've made guidelines and started accepting AI generations with limits for Adobe stock. But there's limitations on that. Limitations they probably can't actually enforce, but there are limits on it. Is there anything we can do now to combat AI, or do we just have to wait and see? I would follow Concept Art Association. Let me put them in the description. I'll put their YouTube in the description. Can I add people now? Yeah. All right, I updated the description of this stream to link to the Concept Art Association. Check them out, subscribe to them. They're going to be putting out a lot of news and things like that. Once they're organized and ready, that'll answer your question. How do you think someone should approach creating a professional portfolio for the first time? Are mentorships good for that? Do you have any suggestions? I would collect reference portfolios so that you can see what kind of work is actually in them. Look for real ones, like not just like someone's ArtStation. I mean, like, look for a portfolio someone specifically put together. Like they curated it with graphics, it has an intro, something of the highest level. Look for that. See what's actually in them, how long they are, the quality of the work, how much explanation is in them. So educate yourself on what a pro portfolio like that actually looks like. And then, yeah, I'd look for a mentor to guide you through it. It would make it easier. It's not easy. Also, you need realistic expectations for how long it should take. If it's like for a design field where a portfolio should be very focused, for someone making it for the first time, it should probably take 1 year to 2 years to make a portfolio. Otherwise, you're probably rushing it. Lil Jolly says, this situation seems to be kind of tense. Who's tense? I don't feel tense. Doesn't seem that tense to me. Zelafay says, they'll have to pry my pen from my cold, dead hand before I stop drawing. From my cold, dead hands. All right, I'm probably not going to get back into drawing because I've got a hard out at 12. So I've got only a bit of time left here. So I'll just hang out for a bit, chat, keep talking AI. Because I'm going to have to run. Why? Because I live in New York City and I have to move the car. If I'm just 10 minutes late to move the car for alternate side street parking, I won't be able to get a spot. And then I'll have to park my car under the bridge all day and pay for it. Damn shit. Hi, pup. Who's a good girl? Who's a good little dog? I know. You love cookies. You love cookies and human-made art. I know. What's your canvas? This is, oh no, what is Canva? Canva is it's a site that has templates and stuff like that to make like graphics packages and things like that. Next podcast with Med when? Probably very soon. I was feeling the urge to hit him up and do another A to Z just yesterday. We'll do it again soon. It's just time. Man, I spent all day yesterday, doing feedback on the course, and I still couldn't get through all of it. I think that's the first day that's happened. Usually whenever I've put a full day behind it, where that's the only thing I do, I've always been able to catch up on that day, and yesterday I could not catch up. I think that was the first day where a full day did not get me caught up. Did you watch How To with John Wilson? Fantastic show. I love that show. One of my wife and I's favorites. Love How To with John Wilson. Great show. Could we fill AI with horribly ugly art to sabotage AI? Unfortunately, as I understand it, I don't think that's a realistic path. There's enough ways to get around that, and most AI scraping is done from a small percentage of websites. They're scraping things like ArtStation or Pinterest. So if they're going to scrape like that, a lot of those sites are going to curate and make sure that there's not just crap art sitting out there or memes or anything like that. So I don't think it's very realistic. No, I think we need to look for other recourse. Goodbye, John D. Harvey. Thank you for the kind words. Hello, Jesse. Hello. Omega says, can you show the doggo? I can't, because the dog that I'm dog sitting is a very jealous dog, and if she sees me pick up my dog, she'll start barking and she'll blow out all of your speakers. AI is everywhere. I'm scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Fear does nothing, contributes nothing. Muster your inner steel. That's the way to go. Can we put these AI protests anywhere else, like DeviantArt or Twitter? When DeviantArt launched DreamUp, their stable diffusion repackage, the backlash was vicious and immediate. And Twitter is basically an ongoing AI art protest at this point, but it's also resistance in the other direction as well. Yeah, DeviantArt got a lot of backlash for DreamUp. Holy God. Glad to know you're a Borges fan, Steven. This AI stuff is crazy. I think I managed to reference the Library of Babel in my... I did, right? Or did I edit that out? I think I did manage to reference the Library of Babel in my AI video. Did you move to New York to find a job, or did you move to New York after you found a job? I'm from New York. I had a job out in Los Angeles. I moved back because my wife, who was living in Los Angeles with me at the time, she got a job in New York she wanted to take. We're both from here. The job sounded good to me too. I wanted her to take it. So I was like, fuck it. Go, and I'll catch up. Give me 6 months. That's why I moved back. It was not how I had planned it, and it was a little early to try to go freelance, I thought, but I didn't want to be without my wife. And I didn't want her to miss the job. So I was like, I'll figure it out. I'm good at figuring stuff out. I'll find a way to live. Because New York is not so good for studio jobs in my industry. There's very few like game companies and production houses in New York because the real estate is prohibitively expensive. There's a lot of like administrative offices and stuff like that that can do with less floor space, but very hard to find an actual production studio in New York City just because it's so expensive and there's very little tax breaks for it. So with a little bit of trepidation, I moved back to New York since I knew studio jobs were harder to get. and I'd have to try to establish a freelance career instead, which felt a little early for me, but here we are. We're doing all right. So far, Clip Studio Paint are the only ones who canceled their AI plans, I think. God bless them. Good for them. I'm glad they did that. I mean, it's just Stable Diffusion, dog. Like, it's not like people don't know they can't just go use Stable Diffusion on a separate site. It's like stupid to completely alienate your audience for no damn reason. I gotta look out in the distance for a second. My eyes are hurting. Been streaming a while. There's a very bright light coming through my window. Are you planning to go to Europe sometime? Yeah, actually. I think probably next place I'll go, probably next vacation will be somewhere in Europe. I might go to the UK next. Never been there. Gonna go somewhere I haven't been before. Probably either the UK, Ireland, or Portugal. I think those three right now are the most likely. Do you think it's only a matter of time before new art websites and marketplaces for non-AI art show up? But how would you authenticate non-AI art would be the question, though. I know people who are looking into it. I think it's inevitable that it will happen. The question is when and how well it can actually be regulated. How much can you detect it? Unfortunately, the leading argument right now is that you would use another AI to detect AIs, that's an unfortunate state to be in. Unfortunate. Goodbye, Why Told. Goodbye. Come to London? Would love to go to London. I've never been. Seems like an oversight. There's a lot of places right around there I want to go. I want to go to London, want to go to Ireland, want to go to Scotland, Portugal, like I said. I'd like to go back to France. I've been to Paris, but I'd really like to look around more of France. I'm very demotivated to start drawing again, but seeing the vicious backlash to AI is giving me hope that people will keep away out of fear like NFTs. I think you should have hope. And drawing is always worth it on its own. No matter what the external incentives, no matter what markets crash or don't crash, drawing is always worth it on its own. It is an endeavor that goes so beyond the money you can make out of it or the clout that you can get out of it or the societal status, anything like that, anything that you might hope. It is so wild. I mean, learning to draw and seeing the world in the different way that learning to draw allows you to see the world as is just, it's worth it on its own. It's amazing to see the world for what it is and to understand it on the level of shapes and light and to be able to sort of run that through your creative process and to create things raw out of your mind. It's one of the greatest existential buoys out there. I think that's why people have been doing it for so long. It really, it goes beyond anything. The monies, the projects, anything. It's a beautiful spiritual endeavor. Can't someone just make an AI artwork, then paint over it and say it's an original artwork? Yeah, that's one of the problems. It'd be very, very hard to make a space that is going to earnestly insist that they can keep AI art out. It's going to be very difficult. Edinburgh in Scotland is a beautiful city if you go to the UK. Always wanted to go to Edinburgh. My in-laws went there, and the stories they had when they came back, I was like, I gotta go. And the pictures that I saw. Beautiful city. Holy crap. Always welcome to Ireland, Stephen. I'll go. Yeah, my wife's from Ireland. Well, she's American. I mean, her dad's from Ireland, and they go back to Ireland all the time. But I've never made it to any of the trips. I'm definitely going to go. I've always wanted to see it. I believe it has saved my life several times. There's nothing like it. There really isn't. It's saved my life too. It's helped me through some of the darkest times. Blessed drawing. Ooh, getting hungry for lunch. Jacob says, hello, everyone. Hello, Steven. I just listened to a couple podcasts with you as guests and want to say thank you for having civilized and research conversation about AI. Hey, my pleasure. Yeah, if anyone wants to check out, go to the Art Cafe podcast. You can also find a link in my recent community post. I recently had a conversation with Mashe Kuchara about AI. I have another one coming up with someone else. I'll post about that when that comes out. Go check that out if you're interested. How do you feel about your own career in the age of AI? I started the parts of my career that really would have worried me at this point. I started stepping away from them for different reasons years ago. Back around 2016-ish, 2017-ish, I started taking seriously sort of diversifying my output and doing different things for different reasons less dramatic than AI, that's for sure. I don't know. I don't find myself thinking about my career personally that much anymore. I think about the students' careers. You know, I know what it's like to want to make art and to want to work in the industries, and I don't like the way this is going and the effect this is having on students. So I mostly think about theirs. I don't find myself thinking about my career that much in light of this AI situation anymore. I put my stock in people a while ago and training people and making a personal connection with people. And, you know, as far as art goes, there's a long autobiographical track record that shows that I learned how to draw and that I do draw for real before the AI stuff came out. You know, everyone will always know that I'm making what I'm making. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not personally that worried about it. For me, I'm outraged because it's so clearly not right to me. You know, that's enough for me. Shaharyar says, great talk with Mashe on Art Cafe. Glad he is on the side of the humans on this. Mashe is a great guy. It was a good talk. On a positive note, the humanist element of human-generated art can never be replaced in spirit. That's true. The humanist aspects are only for us. The question is, once things get so pervasive and AI is everywhere and no one's being honest about it, how do we prove a human made it, you know? It's going to be tough. Ooh, I got to jump off here, guys. My out is here, and I'm developing a rocking headache and eye tension from staring at the screen. Steven, do you have a good counter for the it's like the camera argument? Do you need a good counter? I mean, it's clearly not like the camera. That argument sucks. There is no technological analog. This technology is based on something unlike all of these other technologies that they want to draw analogies to. It is based on the wholesale mass scale consumption of everybody's data. It's just competing in the same markets as everybody else off of the thing those markets are built off of. It's like, they're completely different. And everything that you make forever, if we allow these precedents, will be reabsorbed into the technology so that it can always forever stay updated on how it's going to undermine you and reduce your market viability. It's just not like a camera, and I think that should be clear to everybody who thinks about it honestly for even a few minutes. I mean, they're not technological analogs. It's capable of everything a camera is capable of as sort of a throwaway joke in the middle of its possibility space. It's just like, it's so much bigger. It's a totally different thing. And it's just not, it's about the legal and ethical basis of it. The way that these systems for their training have axiomatic assumptions on what they are allowed to do with what everybody else has made. It's just unlike any other technology. Unlike any other technology, clearly. Steven, you are hyping AI? I don't think so. I disagree. Not according to the messages I get. Definitely not hyping AI. Hello, Steven. Isn't AI going to be a problem also for graphics software like Photoshop and others since people will no longer be using them? Why are software companies silent about the issue? I don't know. I think that they see that there's some way they could make money off of it, or they don't want to alienate a large possible user base, and they just want to see how it shakes out a little bit more. And there's nothing really forcing them to take a stand. You know, they're not required to make a statement about it. Their user base can insist that they make some sort of statement or have a policy, but then it comes down to how betrothed do they feel to their user base, you know? I think they're just waiting to see how it shakes out more. All right, everybody. I really got to run. I'm past my heart out now because I just can't help it. But I really got to go move my car. I really got to go move my car before I get screwed. And walk the dogs, walk these bad dogs. Hey, stinky dog number 2. Did you shit in here while I wasn't paying attention? You got to tell me. You never know. You never know with that one. All right, everybody. Take care. Stay educated on all these things. Keep your eyes on it. Don't give up on drawing. Drawing is so much more than market, so much more than the exterior incentive, so much more than how much money you can make or followers you can get, anything like that, anything like that. No matter what happens with the AIs, it's always worth it to make your own art for yourself in the way that you want to make it, because it has an utterly personal and almost transpersonal aspect. It satiates a deep creative thirst within the individual, and that's always worth doing, or else it'll make you crazy. You know, if you're a really creative person, if you have that desire to sink into something and to make it by hand and to sort of spin off a reality through your own neurology and your own physiology, it's like there is no substituting that, and that is totally inured from any market changes or anything like that. And if you're the kind of person who needs that thing, you got to do it. You got to do it. You really need to do it no matter what. So never give up on it, no matter what happens. It's always a good idea to draw and make art if you want to make art. All right? So keep doing it. All right, everybody. Take care. Thanks for being here. And I will talk to you all very soon. Good luck with all your drawing today, whatever you're doing. Peace, everyone.